What's going on, guys? Welcome to our top waiver wire pickups for week 4. It's me with my co-host Steve D'Angelo at Fantasy Savvy. We're gonna go over some guys that we think can impact your fantasy football teams. And we got some, a couple of deeper ads too. Some guys you might want to stash on the bench. And then at the end, we're gonna go till 8:30. Then towards the end, we're gonna answer any questions you guys have. All right. We'll probably do the last 5-10 minutes for that. So Steve, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, man. I'm good to get back on. The face-off's been a couple weeks. I haven't been streaming at all. Been a little bit busy, but I want to say happy birthday to Anthony. Today's his birthday. He's watching over us, and we're gonna finish this season strong for him. And we're gonna bring the waiver wire. Obviously decent waiver wire this week. And what the other thing I wanted to say was yeah, let's get into it, man. I was gonna say if it's gonna be a shorter show today, so if you guys wanted any questions, just put them in the comments after the show. We'll jump on and we'll answer afterwards
Absolutely.
if we don't get to your questions.
Absolutely. Well, a happy birthday to my boy Anthony. We miss you, brother. It ain't the same without you, but actually in honor of Anthony, we got a sleeper on here. There's actually a guy me and you were both high on too, Steve. So we got one. So that guy will be for Anthony, and Anthony, I hope you're smiling down when I drop this guy's name. But all right, Steve, let's get into it. So, guys, we're gonna go position by position. First, we're gonna do quarterback, then we'll go through wide receiver, then running back, then we'll finish off with tight ends. All right. So we got two ads for you in the quarterback column. The first one for me is Sam Darnold. Right.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm a big Sam Darnold believer. Me and Steve, we have talked about this a lot. I'm maybe a little too sympathetic for the New York quarterbacks. I called them the banished princes. Sam
Yeah,
Darnold last year. Now you got Daniel Jones doing his thing. And I think the reality was, man, good talents, horrific situations, right? And you saw that last year. Sam Darnold was fantasy QB9. That's kind of crazy, right? So
yeah,
we look at, the last 2 weeks, and, week 1 was rough. It was San Francisco, tough divisional opponent, right? But then the last 2 weeks, he's got about 18 points and 17 points back to back weeks. And now he's got Arizona, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville the next 3 games. So I think if you're in need for a quarterback, Sam is a nice ad. I think he's got a nice stretch of games coming. And also, you can hang your hat on JSN is the truth, that he is easily a top 10 wide receiver. That is an elite wide receiver one. And they got Clint Kubiak. I think it's a good offense. It's a smart offense, and it's going to give you fantasy points. Steve, what do you think?
yeah. Sam Darnold, obviously, high pick. Mike Francesa said he was going to be the talk of the town for the next decade, whatever. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition in New York, but he
The
had a
thank
lot to
you,
learn.
Giants.
He had a
Thank
lot.
you, Giants.
Yeah, he had a lot to learn, and he was struggling. And the Jets are a terrible organization to develop quarterbacks, and in general, nobody wants to be patient with these quarterbacks anymore. It's like, especially in New York, you get thrown out of town. But obviously, he wasn't looking good. But anyway, the development wasn't there. He leaves. He goes to Minnesota. Great situation. He learns under O'Connell. Has an excellent season. He flops in the playoffs, but yeah, and I think when you watch Donald this year, some of the stuff that we saw last year is continuing on to this year. And I thought, Saints obviously they suck, but he made some beautiful throws. He's making beautiful throws. He's got a great receiver in JSN. Torrey Horton's coming on. Cooper Cup is definitely, the guy's like stumbling over his own feet. It's a shame. But he's still there. He's still a weapon. They got Kenny Walker, who can make plays. So, this is a good offense. You got Clint Kubiak, and it's a pretty good offense. And I think Darnold is a pretty good pickup this Thursday night, playing at the Cardinals. So yeah, if you need a quarterback, you don't expect a ton from Darnold the rest of the year, but if he's going to give you 2 touchdowns, 250, 240, with some rushing yards here and there, I mean, I think that's pretty solid. I do think that Sam Darnold is on the upward trajectory, for the rest of his career based off what he did last year with O'Connell.
100%, bro. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, man, I think he's a good value right now. I don't think he's the sexiest option, but I do think the Seahawks are better than people think. And they're gonna have a good offense this year, right? So you might want to take advantage of the next three games coming up. Our next quarterback target. This is, he's the talk of the town. If he's somehow still there, Daniel Jones. I mean, I think this is a no-brainer. He's shockingly available in, majority of leagues. And again, it's just kind of like what you were saying, right? Like, I don't think it's fair, but Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold didn't look good in New York. They didn't. Was that their
Mhm.
fault? That's the argument that could be had. How about bottom of the line? They weren't looking good, right? And now you have this new change of scenery, and I think it was hard for people to buy in from the Daniel Jones bashing just his entire career. But dude, this kid is a fantasy football dream with the rushing upside, and don't forget Shane Steichen is the one that created the tush push. He was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. So Daniel Jones has that rushing upside on top of the obviously the talent and the just the level he's playing at that Steichen has unlocked, man. So you have a dual threat quarterback linked to an amazing offense, an amazing offensive coach, and don't be an idiot, man. Pick this kid up. If he fizzles out, he fizzles out. But if he doesn't, if this is the quarterback you have for the rest of the year, this is a top 10 fantasy quarterback without a doubt in my mind. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones, the things I'm noticing from him is the way he's moving in the pocket,
Yep.
avoiding pressure.
It's confident.
Yeah, he's definitely confident. He feels comfortable. Obviously
Yep.
this line is protecting him well, but even when the pressure has been coming, and you've seen it the last couple of weeks, he's still kind of evading pressure and throwing some dimes. He's back to Danny Dimes. I was calling him
Danny
Danny
Bills, as I call him
I
now.
was
He was
calling him Danny Pennies, but he's back to Danny Dimes again. Another tough matchup this week. Could things slow down a little bit? But the thing is, like, you got Jonathan Taylor and great run game, constant play action. Creating open guys. You got Pittman, you got Downs, you got Tyler Warren, you got Alec Pierce, you got Adonai Mitchell. So lots of freaking weapons, and you got a good play caller in Steichen who's already developed a few quarterbacks already. So yeah, I mean, it looks like Daniel Jones. I don't know how many leagues he's available in, depending, maybe some Yahoo leagues, but yeah, if he's still out there somehow, definitely go grab him. And then um, let's talk about Jackson Dart real quick because
sure,
they're moving off of Russell Wilson,
sure.
and this guy's going to be out there on wire. He was a early pick in the first round. So, what are your thoughts on Jackson Dart?
No, I'm so it's hard to be a Giants fan right now. I don't think I can call myself a Giants fan anymore, but I love the Dart pick. That was, my QB1. All respect to Cam Ward. I just like what Jackson Dart did in the SEC. He was recruited by USC. He beat Georgia with like a sprained ankle. The kid's tough. Again, there's, the concerns coming out of the Lane Kiffin offense, and I get that, but I think a good coach could easily see the upside in the skill and mold him into an NFL quarterback. That's their job. Um, I feel a lot better putting my name because Jackson Dart, at the end of the day, it is the Giants, right? So, I was afraid that they were going to rush this kid in too soon, and they kind of are. It's still his first year. Even though last year, you have the Jaden Daniels and you have the year one success stories, but that doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes these kids get eaten alive, especially on bad teams. With Andrew Thomas now back, I feel a lot better because I know at least now because I know how important a left tackle is. Like Daniel Jones' one rock star year with the Giants was with who? Andrew Thomas. That was his Andrew Thomas's best year. He was healthy, played the entire year. So I think there is a common denominator here. So I feel a lot better now that Andrew Thomas, and I think that wasn't by coincidence, right? We all know Russell Wilson's bad. We all know that. He had the one game versus the Cowboys. I think that's more of an anomaly. I think that was just the Dallas Cowboys have a really bad defense, and he had time to throw the ball. But I think it's 0-3. They were making sure that Thomas is back, and now they're going to put him in. So I like it, man. I don't. It's hard to trust the Giants,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth the gamble here because if you have an extra bench spot, you want to get some juice at QB.
Hmm.
Dart's got it all. And as long as Andrew Thomas is on the field, he's got Malik Neighbors, he's got Wandell Robinson. And at one point we all did think Dable was a good offensive minded coach.
Hmm.
So there is some hope there, but it's just hard with the current
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dable with Daniel Jones, and now what
Throwing
he's
the
doing with the
iPad
Colts.
at him.
Now what he's doing with the Colts doesn't look like a good look for
Yeah.
Dable.
Yep.
They're certainly trying to save their jobs with this Jackson Dart thing. Obviously, the fans are tired. Russell Wilson. I don't think he's playing absolutely horrible. I know everybody's getting on with those last three throws at the end, throwing back at the end zone 19 times. But yeah, I mean, you're 0-3. You drafted this kid. You got to just see, get some spark in the room. Yeah, Russell Wilson's upside is capped. Take a shot on Dart. I wouldn't go nuts in Fab, but yeah, I would take a shot. He's throwing to Malik Neighbors. Wandell is not bad. Maybe he revives Darius Slayton a little bit as well. And you got Cam Scatterbo now, working out of that backfield. So yeah, I don't mind taking a shot. And one more guy real quick, Marcus Mariota. If Daniels is out another week, I mean, this guy seems pretty good in this system. He's got 4 good games now in this system. So I mean, I feel decent about using Mariota if you need to use him for one more week.
Yep. Good streamer. All right, man. Let's dive into wide receivers. This one's a little bit deeper. We got 5 players. We're going to go with 2 guys that could make an impact. And then we got 3 guys that are more of like deeper kind of look ahead stashes. One's on the cusp, but I'll get into that. Number 1, Anthony. I know you're looking down, smiling at us, man. Alik Iomanner. This is somebody, me and Steve. If you watched any of our streams, man, me and Steve have been all over him. Again, Alik Iomanner is a wide receiver that I love out of Stanford. I don't know how he fell to the 4th at the end of round 4. I thought he was easily a day 2 pick. I thought he was going somewhere round 2. Round 3, he didn't. I thought the landing spot was awesome because you looked at Tennessee's offense and one, there's nobody behind Calvin Ridley. And all of a sudden, now, if somebody told you, oh, by the way, Calvin Ridley can't catch all of a sudden, this pick was even easier because their wide receiver room is very, very depleted. So he was already going to be the starter almost right out of the gate. This kid is an elite separator. I mean, he gave Travis Hunter his worst game in college football. He absolutely destroyed him and embarrassed him. And I don't think that was a coincidence, man. I think just he was a little underlooked as a prospect. I think he had a great, Senior Bowl, and I think that's now all coming to fruition, man. And I think you're going to see him now, even if Ridley snaps out of it. Titans aren't going to be good. They're going to be throwing the ball every game, right? And this kid is the opposite side of Calvin Ridley, man. So, PPR leagues, this is easy ad.
Yeah, I mean, he's got touchdowns back-to-back weeks, 4 for 38 and 1 this week, 5 targets. It's him, Ridley, and Lockett. But, Ridley, man, it's just been a hot mess. I mean, ever since Ridley kind of left the NFL, he just really hasn't kind of been the same guy when he was on the Falcons. Is he going to pick it up? I'm sure he will. He's constantly dropping passes. Like, he can't catch anything in traffic right now. The ball is just popping out left and right. And Cam Ward, man, I know it's been a little bit bumpy. He had a terrible throw early in that game against the Colts to give the pick 6. But when you watch him, you could just see the talent, the arm talent, and just, the moxie, the confidence, and, the confidence to throw the ball in traffic and get it done. So, yeah, I think Ward's going to get better and better as the season goes on and as his career goes on. And Iomanner should be a pretty decent piece there. I mean, he should be at least, the number 2 guy. I mean, Tyler Lockett 4 for 37. He'll kind of be in the way, but Iomanner has more upside. DK is kind of being used as like like short screens and like reverses, shit like that. So yeah, Iomanner is definitely a good ad. Back-to-back touchdowns. Ward's gonna have a good end to the rest of the season. So yeah, definitely add him if he's out there on your wire.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. If you've been listening to me and Steve this offseason, he would have already been on your bench, but that's a story for a different day. Yeah, League Iowa Manor, wheels up. This is pretty much last call. This is going to be the last attempt that you get him. I don't expect him to be on waiver wires much longer. Our next guy, I was all over this guy last year, so this kind of broke my heart to see it. I actually didn't even realize it till me and Steve kind of just went on before we went on the air. Trey Tucker, a 40
Mm.
burger. Wow. I liked this guy last year, man. Third round pick out of Cincinnati. Ironically, it's the pick that Joe Shane gave the Raiders. I think that's makes it even funnier. But yeah, man, like I don't think the Raiders are going to be that good. I think they're another team that's going to be throwing a lot, right? And a lot of people, including myself, were buying into the Dante Thornton hype. And, maybe it's not Thornton. Maybe it was Trey Tucker. Maybe we were all, there's a lot of people that were, in on Trey Tucker last year and kind of, building the hype train. Maybe we were just a year early, right? This kid, um, he's a nice, like, 5'9", good slot receiver, man, good separation, but he runs like a 4.3, dude. So he'll blow past you. That's why that touchdown at the end of the game in garbage time, he just blew past the defense. So I think for a team with Gino who can throw awesome, speaking of Russell Wilson moon balls, I think Gino's got one of the best deep balls in the game, and they're gonna be down a lot this year, man. So I think he's a good ad. Would I be surprised if he fizzled out, if he, pulls a Troy Franklin or something like that? Would not at all. But I think the way the Raiders are playing and the script it looks like they're going to be playing with all year, I think he's definitely worth the ad, man. So um, go ahead and add Trey Tucker.
Yeah, I like Trey Tucker last year too, and I was like, I was waiting for him to do something. I didn't do anything last year. I
Dude,
mean, it could
nothing.
could have been, because the quarterbacks couldn't really get the ball downfield, and like you said,
Right.
Gino has the arm, and you saw it early in the year. I mean, Gino was just like, and in the preseason, they're just constantly throwing bombs to Thornton, like thinking he's freaking Randy Moss out there, fucking
Right, dude.
unbelievable. And it just wasn't working. I mean, Thornton had his chances. So now you're seeing Trey Tucker step up. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year. Obviously, is his pace going to keep up? Probably not. But I did add him actually last week, and then he didn't do shit last week, and then I cut him this week
Right.
in a bunch of leagues. So I think I have him in a couple still. You always want to stay 1 week ahead on the waiver wire, but 3% owned right now. Trey Tucker is still very, very available. So yeah, I mean, Gino's going to chuck. He's got the arm to chuck. The Raiders defense is not good. They're probably going to be down a lot in a lot of these games. So, Tucker's going to be cleaning up in a lot of these with Jacoby Myers, and, Bowers will come alive at some point. And hopefully they can start getting the red zone more. And, Ashton Genty can start cleaning up around the goal line. But yeah, Trey Tucker, 3%, definitely got to go at him. I mean, I'm not going to go insanely crazy on Fab, but, you don't want to go too nuts. And like in some leagues, he may go, I could see some people spending like $500 for his, or
Yeah, that'd be insane.
like 50, 60% of their fab, maybe, maybe 30%, but if you're desperate at receiver, but he could really have a pretty nice season. He is talented. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's worth the ad for sure. So especially with the script, and again, everybody thought this Raiders was like, you can want to do something all you want. It's like, can you do it right? And they're gonna run the ball. I just don't think they're good enough to run the ball the way they want to with Genty. That's why I said this summer I was like, give me Hampton over Genty. The Chargers are the better team. It has nothing to do. I'm a Genty fan. I just didn't think the Raiders have the offensive line. They don't have the offense to be, in games where they're going to be running that much. And yeah, I think this is going to be a throw first team just based off a game script. So right now you have to add him. He just had 3 touchdowns. He had a 40-point game. And the outside of Brock Bowers, it's Jacoby Myers and that's it. So
mhm.
Trey Tucker is a nice little ad right now. My third wide receiver to add. This is kind of like in between a look ahead ad if you want to be sneaky. Parker Washington. I love me some Parker Washington, man. I love them all the way back from Penn State. 5th round pick. And he kind of got frightened. I forgot about him. You have Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, you have, the Peng Diami Brown. And, it's like, oh man, maybe it'll never come to fruition. But, sometimes the talent just, demands. And, week 2 versus Cincinnati, 24% of the snaps, 5 catches, 76 yards. Then this week versus Houston, he went all the way up to 71%. That's big. That's key in fantasy, right? The stat score wasn't pretty because he only had 4 catches for 34 yards, but he had 11 targets. And that's what I want, right? I want to see somebody that's getting factored into the game plan. Maybe Cohen weirdly loves Parker Washington now, and he's like, maybe this could be my slot guy. Who knows? But the fact that we're seeing this uptick in usage and Trevor's throwing him the ball, at him. You have nothing to lose. I would stash him if you got an extra, bench stash, empty, bench spot. I would stash him and just see where it goes. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, we've kind of seen this from Parker Washington. He's flashed before in some spots where he's gotten opportunities. But yeah, Trevor was targeting him a ton. He had 11 targets. He did
It's
drop a couple.
crazy.
Yeah, he did
Sure.
drop a couple passes. Diami Brown also hurt his shoulder in this game. So that certainly helps. But, we're seeing Travis Hunter play more defense now, than we were first expecting. We were kind of expecting a 70-30, and now, he's only playing 53% of the snaps, 62% route share for Hunter. So that could pick up. I thought Hunter's one catch actually probably was the best catch by any Jaguars receiver on the day, besides that Brian Thomas big play at the end of the game. But yeah, Parker Washington, again, it's a deeper league. You need some receiver help. I think he could be a guy, Trevor Lawrence, how many guys can he really make relevant? And I kind of think that the Jags defense actually has a little bit of juice. They're not bad as advertised. I think they actually can play a little bit of D. So, but yeah, not a terrible ad. I would still probably prefer Trey Tucker and another guy we should talk about real quick, Christian Kirk. I think maybe I prefer him a little bit more too.
It's crazy. Ready for this?
Yeah.
Parker Washington had more snaps than Travis Hunter last week.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Like, so all I'm saying is, bro, there is a world, and this is fantasy football. We have lived this. We've seen crazier things happen. I think
yeah,
Parker Washington is one of the players like worth stashing this week. Because who are they playing? San Francisco. So that's going to be, I would imagine there's going to be some points scored.
Especially if Diami Brown is out, then I only he's going to elevate him even further.
100%, dude. I didn't even know that. So that's a good call, dude. That could could be the small opening.
Tim Patrick's mixing in a little bit, but I think they're going to prefer Washington. He's been around there longer. Patrick was a late ad, and Washington does different things. I mean, Washington's been there for what, 3-4 years now. So
I think this is year 3.
Yeah, 3 years. So
yep. Absolutely, dude. All right. I like that. I like that stash. Next guy we got is Alec Pierce. I did not have this on my bingo card. I thought this would be a Donnie Mitchell. But until, things change, like Alec Pierce won that opposite side, that outside job opposite to Michael Pittman. And dude, he looks like a stud. Steichen has been talking him up. Daniel likes him. Daniel trusts him. And, like the last 2 weeks, I think he's had over 60 yards. So, man, in, deeper leagues, or, you're looking for, a receiver connected to a good offense, man. Alec Pierce has, 68, 67 yards the last 2 weeks. And they have the Rams coming up this week. He is in concussion protocol. So I would keep that in mind, right? Because he might miss this week. Hopefully he doesn't, because he's heating up. But they have a good stretch of games coming up. Raiders, Arizona, Chargers. I like that. So the fact that he is the pretty much like the number 2 receiver, we all thought it was going to be Josh Downs. Josh Downs ain't getting the volume that I thought he was going to get. I'm a big Josh Downs guy. It's been Alec Pierce, man. So I think he's another sneaky deeper ad.
Yeah, I like Pierce. I must have cut him and picked him up in like 47 times last year.
Right.
He was so hard to predict, because
right.
one week he'd go for like 4 for 80 to touchdown. The next week he wouldn't do anything, and then he'd blow up. So he was better for best ball. But yeah, I mean, in this offense, now with Daniel Jones throwing the ball, I mean, I've always thought he was talented. He's shown it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the concussion protocol, and in that case, Adonai Mitchell might be a decent pickup. He would step in and kind of take that role. But yeah, I think Alec Pierce, 100%. I think we saw it last year, and that like early on when Richardson was throwing that bomb, he burnt freaking Derek Stingley. I mean, so he could beat better corners in this league. He's an underrated receiver.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this was a second round pick. He was a fantasy darling. Everybody loved him when he came out of Cincinnati, and Frank Reich drafted him, and again, it's year 4, kind of, like all the stars are kind of aligning. It's contract year. You have the best quarterback you've ever had throwing you the ball. You're starting, your coach trusts you. He likes you on deep plays. So I like Alec Pierce. And the last guy you touched on him before, Steve. This one, again, it's a deeper ad, more of like a stash, because I do think Cooper Cup is on the downward spiral. Tony Horton, dude, I mean, I think if Cooper Cup could just go away, this would be such a way more fun ad, because I think he's just going to be behind him, unfortunately. But I think the talent's there, man. So I do like Tony Horton. It's just, when will it happen? You know?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but I mean, he's showing a lot more juice than Cooper Cup
I
is.
agree. I
And,
agree.
and he's returning punts. He had a nice, corner route touchdown too from Darnold as well. So yeah, he's a guy that I'm definitely want to look at for sure. He's going to get playing time. That's another guy I'm looking at this week.
Yeah, man. That was the one move I did not like the Seahawks made this offseason was the Cooper Cup deal. I thought that
Yeah,
was
I don't know why
why.
I don't know why they throw that money at him. Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
it didn't make sense. But
I agree.
yeah, Horton. I mean, he's not too far behind. I mean, Cup's at 81 route percentage, and Torrey Horton 63% for the year. So he's not too far behind. That could kind of start to shift up. I mean, it was 76. It was even this week between all three receivers as far as route percentage,
Yep.
76% across the board.
Yep. And in deep, deep, deep leagues, we're about to jump into running backs, guys, and then finish it off with tight ends. But if for any reason, if Alec Pierce is to miss this week, and you deep league, you need a streamer, I would start Adonai Mitchell, because um, he's going to take over that role. You look at the games that Mitchell has played and the snapshot that he's had. Danny does go to him often when he's on the field. So that could be a good streamer. It also could be room for a breakout game. Again, this is a good offense. So I don't hate investing in it. So let's jump into running back. First guy, again, another fantasy darling. If he's still there, you got to pick him up because this is his last call. Bashal Tootin.
Oh
I
God.
can't. I hate saying
That's a
his first name.
no brainer pickup. Come on,
Hundred
we should have done
percent.
this guy weeks ago. I mean, we should have been
Dude,
drafting.
I mean, I think after like week 2 when he scored the first touchdown, because it's just like we kind of knew this was going to happen, right? Where it was like we didn't know which running back was going to get phased out. Was it going to be ETN? Was it going to be Bigsby? Because this regime didn't draft either, right? And then, they wanted to draft RJ Harvey. The Broncos kind of snaked him from them. And then, Tootin was another guy that they had high on their draft boards, and Gladstone's been talking about it, I think, like since his interview with Jacksonville. So they obviously have, plans and high hopes for this kid, right? And then we finally saw it came to fruition. It was Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby was the odd man out. That's the one they ended up trading, right? And you saw with last year, like with Bucky, right? There was a plan where he just kind of his snaps increased over time, and Cohen was going to do this tandem of White and Bucky. Did we know that Bucky was going to be a god? No, right? We're not saying
Mhm.
that Tootin's going to be a god, but he is going to play that 1-2 punch to ETN. So I like him, man. I think this is like their PPR back. I think his role is only going to grow as the season goes on. Running back position is very thin. This is a last call, man. Like if he's still there because people, are looking at it like ETN is the RB1, then capitalize on their mistake. Because even though ETN is the RB1, Tootin's going to get a lot of playing time this year, and he's going to produce fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, he should have been drafted, but in case he wasn't, I mean, this is a guy that you want to spend like, other than Trey Benson, who we're going to probably talk about briefly, but these two guys, I mean, you got to spend most of your fab on them. He's like Tootin is all-time leading rusher at Virginia Tech. He's got speed, he's got power. They used him on the goal line already a couple times. So yeah, this is Liam Cohen's boy. We heard the rumors that they were going to trade one of these backs. They shipped off Bigsby. So it's him and ETN. The Quinn Allen's mixing in here and there, but he's not on the level of Tootin. So yeah, it's just a no-brainer. You got to go out and spend majority of your fab. You're not going to find many good players, especially at the running back position like him on the wire the rest of the year. It probably won't be anybody close to him. So blow all your fab if he's out there.
Yeah, no, I actually I have an inverse. I think Benson is a no-brainer. Like I can't imagine Benson being on anybody's waiver wires. Like to him,
Yeah, no,
you look
Benson also. I mean, both those guys were drafted in most leagues, but
dude. I mean, if I'm in a league where somehow, some way, let's just say Tootin and Benson are both there, I'm spending all of my money on Benson. And I like Tootin, but like,
oh
dude,
yeah, well he's got the better role, obviously. Yeah,
100, yeah, dude.
yeah.
So like, but Benson, like, dude, in real leagues, I mean, Benson's been rostered,
Yeah.
So Tootin might the one. I think Tootin's the guy in some leagues. They might be sleeping, and he might still be lingering out there. You could cross your fingers, but yeah, this is the last call if he's there.
Yep.
Next guy. So let's get into some guys that are like kind of waiting in the wings. These are more look ahead stashes, or you have some extra bench spots. You want to load up on some upside.
Actually, I'm looking to according to this data. It says that Tootin's actually higher owned, 65%. Benson's 50%.
That is insane to me.
Yeah,
that is great. Wow. I would, dude. Good thing like we didn't bet on that because I would have bet that Benson was a higher owned player. That's crazy.
but I mean, you should be playing in leagues where both these guys are drafted. If you're not,
right,
that's cool. If like you're just starting on fantasy, but we want to appeal to all people playing. You might be in an 8-team league or a 10-team league too. So
sure.
But yeah, I mean, those two guys
competitive 12 teams, they're not going to be there.
I liked Benson coming out. I thought he was a pretty talented kid, and he didn't really get too much of a chance. Connor was like that Frank Gore presence, just going to kind of be in the way. And I hate what happened to Connor, man.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it really is terrible. But this is Benson's time now. So yeah, I mean, he's got and Amari DiMercato. They brought him in for like one or two snaps, and he dropped the pass. Just forget about Amari DiMercato.
It's done. It's done. He's going to spell him. Bro, but that trade that me and Pete made in the One Dynasty League, that was I traded him Mark Andrews for Trey Benson. And like what a week for that trade, because Mark Andrews turned into Rob Gronkowski, and now it's the Benson show. So that was actually a really good trade all around. Now let's dive into like I was saying, those bench stashes, guys that are waiting in the wings. Woody Marks. Woody Marks, people have been talking about him. He is available in a lot of leagues.
9% owned.
Yeah, so 91% of leagues. Now, this is a guy, again, if you have the bench spot and you're looking for a player with high upside, I like Marks. I think we all love Nick Chubb, but I think he's kind of at the end of his career. Again, Houston is a mess, but I think they're going to start to try to look for some juice, some more options. And Woody Mark, man, you look at his yards per carry. Let me pull that up because that's key here. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry, 3 for 14 week 2, 6 for 27 week 3. So he's got the juice. I just think it's a matter of time before he starts getting more involved in the game plan. I mean, this kid was a stud at USC. You look at Nick Chubb, 50% of the snaps, 9 for 38 last week. That was still good. But like Mark's, okay, this is what I'm looking at, right? Mark's snap percentage the last 3 weeks, 11, 27, 48. So this is the time to get him, because the last thing you want to do is, let's say this is the week that Tennessee, right? There you go. So let's say this is the week that, he breaks out, or they kind of do, because last week it was pretty much a 50-50 split on snap percentage, and, Chubb had 9 carries, Marks had 6. So if this is the week where they split even more and, Marks just runs away with the opportunity, he's going to be harder to get. So I love him as a look-ahead stash.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb had the touchdown run last week. 9 for 38 this week, 4 targets, 3 catches for 2 yards. He doesn't. I mean, I hate to say, he just does not look the same. I mean,
man, it's over.
It's just clear as day. Woody Marks looks okay to me. Like, Maybe if they had a better offensive line, they look better. But this offensive line looks terrible. I mean, Stroud has no time. They're not really opening up any holes. But yeah, I mean, Marks's usage is going to go up. They're probably going to have to start using him in the passing game, get a little more explosion on this offense. The passing game is not really working. The offensive line is just not looking good right now. It looks really bad. They traded off like two of their best guys, and Tunzel and whoever the other guy was. They were causing all these freaking issues, and like they arguably have like worse talent this year. Maybe trying to create more chemistry, but it just hasn't looked good for
Yeah.
Stroud so far. I don't know how much he's really going to do, but maybe he starts catching 3-4 balls, maybe 5 balls a game. So yeah, I mean, running backs are very scarce on the
Yep.
wire. So you got to go and add as much as you can, especially if you have dead weight. If you have any dead weight, you always want to be constantly improving your teams. And, even though I'm not like the biggest Woody Marks guy, and I think the offensive line stinks, he's got opportunity, and that's key. So, yeah, he definitely is a guy you have to go after.
Yeah, and fun fact, he's averaging 23 yards per catch right now. So if that role were to grow, that's value in fantasy football. And then the other deep stash, kind of look at stash we got is Blake Corum. He looks awesome right now. And
Yeah.
you know what else, man? Like, I think his role is growing. I think this was a guy that, again, people might have been a little too early on because Kyron Williams was a fourth round pick. He's a little bit injured, great player. He's a little bit injury prone, not the greatest athletic profile. So that's why like people were shocked when they're like, well, why would they replace a good player? It's more complicated than that. And I think they thought that's what was going to happen with Blake Corum. Like this was going to be the heir.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's happening now is that Blake Corum kind of understands the offense. It's his second year. He's more comfortable. The Rams want to run the ball, and they realize that they can have a nice 1-2 punch with both,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think let's see. Let's look at Blake's usage the last 2 weeks. So yeah, 30% the last 30, and then 24%. But he's averaging you know, yeah, he went 5 for 44, so 8.8 yards per carry. And then last week versus Philly, 8 for 53. So I can only imagine his role getting bigger, right? And just becoming a more 1-2 punch. Obviously, they want to try to keep Kyron healthy and keep him upright as well. So I think this is a sneaky little ad here, man. If Blake Corum starts coming in and getting some goal line work too, and his percentage keeps going up,
Mm-hmm.
this is a good like the Rams are a good team, man. They're a
Oh,
top
yeah.
3 team, top 4 team in the NFC. So yeah, man, I like Blake Corum. He's like I think he's a more of a handcuff right now, but he's like a really good handcuff, because he's
Oh,
like
yeah. Yeah.
he's a handcuff that's actually playing too.
This is one of the
So
best handcuffs in fantasy in this system, 100%. Now,
yeah.
everybody kind of shits on Kyron, like he's not talented. Like I kind of thought he reminded me a little bit of Ray Rice, coming out of Notre Dame. So I think he is talented and he's proven durable. Is he the most talented player? Does this situation, help him playing with the Rams for sure? But yeah, you're right. Corum, they want to utilize, keep Kyron a little bit more fresh. Now, I think Kyron's still going to be the main guy, obviously. It's still 75 to
Yeah.
24% as far as snap share. And Kyron's running, more routes as well, 44 to 17 percentage wise. But yeah, Corum has looked good, 8 for 53 last week. This guy looks much better now in his second year. I think he was a little bit banged up last year as well. Again, rookie, still learning the NFL. Even Kyron, he was kind of banged up early on in his career too. It took him a little while to fully get going. So, yeah, I mean, absolute must if you're a Kyron Williams owner, add Blake Corum. But in general, if you're just looking for, a future pickup, for a guy to have a tremendous opportunity, that's Blake Corum. I mean, if he ever steps in the full starting role, he's going to be a league winner, basically. So, they'll probably use Jarquez Hunter a little bit too, but it's going to be next man up where Corum would kind of be the main guy like Kyron is now. So,
Yes, agreed. And that's why I just love Blake Corum, man. If you got the bench spot, pick him up, leave him there. If Kyron Williams goes down, you probably won your league. Um, all right, man. And let's just we'll do one more deeper ad. This is for people in deeper leagues. You're trying to get that competitive edge. Um, Kyle Monangai. So again, like you listen to Ben Johnson and how he talks about this kid, and a lot of people, were in on Roshan Johnson, and I get the vision there because you're thinking Ben Johnson uses two running backs. You need a thumper to go along with Swift. But at the end of the day, like Kyle Monangai was the running back he drafted this year, right? He was younger, but he trusts him. And Monangai is starting to play more. He's starting to get more carries. And I think he's a good stash just in the fact that maybe his role will grow. Also, Swift isn't the most healthiest running back. He has a tendency of being injury prone in the past. The Bear again, it was the Dallas Cowboys. You don't have the they made Russell Wilson look like Drew Brees, but it was a get right game for the Bears. And I think that they could be headed in the right direction. The offense could be, running better, more smoothly. And I like what's going on with Kyle Monangai. So I think he's a a sneaky little stash.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of see why he's a seventh round pick. He's not like the most talented guy, but he is, like you said, he is Ben Johnson's guy. Roshan, I don't know what the deal is. Like, I don't know if he's fully healthy. He's always hurt. I mean, he was basically out like a month and a half with that foot injury. Like, so I don't know. Maybe he'll ramp up at some point. I don't know. I mean, I don't, mind taking a chance on Roshan. That's kind of my bet for the backup the rest of the year. But yeah, Monangai right now is working in 6 carries for 16, 1 catch for 4 yards. Snap percentage at 28% on the year. And like you said, Swift is not the most durable guy. The Bears have some good games on the schedule coming up. So yeah, if something happens to Swift, he could get the goal line looks. I'm not real excited. I'm not going to drop a bunch of fab on him.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, he's like, again, it's scarce out there. I had Monangai a couple leagues early on, then I dropped him for some other guys. But it's we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't rule out Roshan just yet. We'll have to see. Roshan, though, I liked him a lot coming out of Texas. Like, he never really showed anything in the NFL. So, maybe he's just never going to be a thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, and another thing to keep an eye on, another sneaky kind of deep, Chris Rodriguez. Eckler went down, and all of a sudden, him and JCM, they had the snap share. I think both about 40%. Chris Rodriguez actually got more carries. So if you guys are just looking for another dart throw, Chris Rodriguez, again, good offense. We all thought JCM was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Eckler got hurt 1 week, and Chris Rodriguez is already out there playing as much as
Maybe
JCM.
it's Jeremy McNichols now with 4 for 78 and a touchdown. We obviously had that huge run that obviously changed.
Yeah, that inflated his numbers. Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying. Yeah, maybe I'm being an idiot, but I'm not buying.
I mean, I still think it's JCM. I mean, I think
Sure.
he's the most talented. I think Rodriguez is he kind of reminds me like Benny Snell a little bit. But I mean, yeah, he did have 11 carries for 39 yards. I mean, both guys were kind of underwhelming. Even JCM had 8 for 26. So this, maybe Bill's just not going to be as good as we thought, but he did get the touchdown. They only threw one pass to the backs this week, which went to Bill. So yeah, we'll see how it shakes out, but this could be kind of ugly between all 3 guys. But yeah, I mean, maybe take a shot on Rodriguez if you're a Bill owner. But McNichols, I think, is going to be in the way a little bit too. So it could just be ugly for all these guys now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly little 3-headed committee. I think you're right.
Yeah. Let me just see what else is out there.
Sure, go ahead, and then we'll jump into tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about Ollie Gordon? I know he scored last week, but Jalen Wright, probably maybe get some more snaps this week.
Sure.
I don't know. Ollie Gordon doesn't really look that great to me. He's just like a big bowling ball kind of.
Yeah.
But what is he really going to do? I don't know.
I like Ollie Gordon. I'm just so out on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. And I think Ollie Gordon is good. I think he's a good player. But again, like, we still haven't seen Jalen Wright's been hurt. Like, is he going to come back? Is he going to start getting snaps?
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a bad stash. Like, by all means, if you're in a deep league, you have an extra bench spot, and Ollie Gordon's there, why not? That's how I look at him. I think the upside is there. It's just how good are the Dolphins going to be? How much is he going to play? Things of that nature. But I do think he's after scoring last week and getting a lot of that, dirty work. I don't think he's a bad ad at all.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the tight ends. We're running out of time.
Absolutely. All right, man. Yeah, absolutely. We'll run through these really quick and then we'll just jump into questions. Any questions you have, start sits or trades. So tight ends, we got two. Our main one, we got a normal one, and then we got a deeper ad. First one, Hunter Henry. Wow,
Oh
man.
man.
Like, yeah, dude. What? Eight for
Uh
90, 2 touchdowns. So he's Mark Andrews.
dude, I was watching that game today and it kind of like with freaking McDaniels there, it was like it's like a Gronk
Yeah.
Aaron Hernandez system with Hooper and May is throwing the freaking ball to the tight end. Hunter Henry looks great. Dude, he could be like I know, where he's coming off a big game, but he could have a really monster year. He's always been talented.
First round
So
pick.
yeah, Hunter Henry, I feel like going forward is going to be like an every week starter the rest of the way. So, yeah,
100%.
I think if he's out there, you drop a pretty good load on him and go
Yeah.
grab him. I'm pretty excited about Hunter Henry right now.
Yeah, dude. I'm thrilled. Like, I it was funny. I thought Drake May was gonna kind of break out this year. I didn't think the Patriots would be 1 and 2, but he does look like he's breaking out and he's better situation, especially with the overhaul that Vrabel's done and McDaniels being there. But week one, I thought it was gonna be Kayshon Boutte. I was like, wow, like he's living up to the first round hype when he was in college and LSU wide receiver. But you know what else? I'm kind of like mad at myself that I didn't see Hunter Henry coming like with McDaniels. It's like, dude, like it's a tight end system. He's
Yeah.
always ran
Yeah.
a system like that.
And they were
And
boys too. Him and May are like real close.
yeah, man, like I kind of hate myself for not seeing this one. But yeah, man. I mean, I think he is a must add, especially if you need a tight end. I just think in McDaniel's system and the way that May trusts him, like he's going to be a very fantasy friendly tight end for the rest of the year. So I think he's a must add. FAB, I would drop a decent chunk, especially if you need a tight end. But I think this is legit, man. Kind of, I agree with everything Steve's saying. Like
This is the type of player that even if you don't need a tight end, you still want to drop a good amount
just
because
because of the upside.
the
Yeah, I
upside
agree.
you could trade.
Sure.
You steal him away from your rest of your league. I mean, this is a guy that instead of having one of these bums that even like a backup running back or whatever. This is a guy you have to add. I mean, 60% owned. He's not available in most leagues, but if he's out there 100%, you gotta. I mean, I'm really excited about Hunter Henry and Drake May. I mean, he's still turning the ball over a little bit, but yeah, he looks good. He's playing poised out there, so yeah, I like it a lot.
Absolutely. And the last ad, this isn't I love this ad. Like if you need a tight end, and I think this is the week where this is definitely you're beating the curve here. Me and Steve
Yeah.
love this guy.
Well,
This is
you love him more than me. I mean,
I
you were really
sold you.
on that.
I sold you on him.
Well, actually, I think I was auto picked him in that league, so I wasn't really.
Yo,
But no, no.
you traded up in Anthony's league. And that was my favorite. So I draft what was it
Well,
yesterday,
it's tight end. It's tight end premium. That's why I took him.
yeah, no, but you traded up the pick behind me and you go, yo, do you want Gadsden? I'm like, dude, what hilarious. But yeah, man,
I'll still trade him to you.
please, I need him. But Arandi, Gadsden, oh dude, I can't speak highly enough about this kid, man. I think looking back, this will be one of the players that it was a really good draft, especially it was deep at tight end. I think good players fell. I think Gadsden is one of them. I think this was one of the better receiving tight ends. And it's ironic because the Chargers, they tried to sign Evan Engram. So they're looking for a tight end in that mold. And like, go watch Gadsden's, film at Syracuse, man. This kid's legit. He's got juice. And then I listened to my hero Harborough talk about him. And it's like, dude, like, it's like, oh my God, this kid's going to be the next Antonio Gates. Right. And then he's tearing it up in camp. And I don't know if he's been hurt or, because he didn't play the first 2 weeks right? And now he
Well,
played last.
it's the veterans,
Yeah,
Disley, Conklin, but Disley was hurt, so he got the opportunity,
finally.
and he stepped up 100%.
And that's where it's like, even like, it's so funny. Like, even these good coaches, they can make the rare mistake where it's like, I get it, you want to go with the veteran, but it's like almost like they get lucky and God forces their hand, where it's like, all right, let me take Will
Yeah.
Disley out of the game and see, where my offense goes with Gadsden, right? And the kid
Yeah.
plays 26% of the snaps in a
Mm.
huge game, in a very tough game versus Denver, right? 7 targets, 5 receptions, 46 yards, playing 26% of the snaps. Um, Again, I think this is kind of one of those like perfect scenarios where the stars are aligning. Again,
Mm.
it's a fifth round pick and it's a tight end. So this is kind of crazy, right? I'm not saying he's George Kittle, but the Chargers don't have a tight end. They don't really have a receiving tight end. The Chargers are a really good team. Justin Herbert is an elite quarterback. And this kid looks like he's slowly about to take over this starting tight end role. So I think there is a ton of value here. I would pounce on him this week, especially in deeper leagues where you could get him. And it's like, again, they're playing the Giants next week. So could be a smash spot for everybody on the Chargers. They're also, again, you know, we've seen weirder things happen. Imagine, Dart comes in and now it's actually that they got themselves a game, right? And now this is a high scoring game, So I love Gadsden. I think he's a sneaky ad. I would definitely stash him this week. See what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. Like I'm looking at 0% of Yahoo League, so he's pretty much out there everywhere. But yeah, I mean, the way he finished that game, I mean, that's the guy that Herbert was looking to, and he made some nice catches. Like he made like Herbert threw one kind of behind him. He caught it, and he had like 2 or 3 catches on that final drive with Dicker, getting that field goal to win the game. So yeah, Conklin, I think he ran one less route than Conklin, and Disley was out. And maybe if Disley comes back, maybe, Gatson, takes a step back. But I think what they saw, the way he finished that, I think he kind of forces their hand to give him more looks. So, yeah, is he going to be, a smash the rest of the year? Maybe not, but you have to take a chance on it because it's possible he could be a smash playing in this offense with Herbert, who looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And this offense is one of the best offenses in the league as well. I know it's getting kind of spread around between Ladd and Quentin Johnson and Allen, but yeah, Gatson could be the number 1 tight end. So this is like, by week 10, week 11, like he could be, running, 80% of the snaps or whatever at tight end. So 100%. I like it too. And you're not going to have to spend a lot either to get him. So that's
No.
why you want to target him here.
Unless you got like, again, every like deeper leagues where you got some cerebral players playing, then maybe you want to put like because I think the upside is worth it. And again, if he becomes a starting tight end, it's like, damn, wow, I really, if he was declared the starting tight end today and getting 100% of the snaps, you would drop a ton of FAB, right? So don't, drop a little extra, drop 20, whatever again, everybody's like the people leagues have thousands, some people have $100, but just make sure you get them. Because that's a good stash. But all right, guys. So now me and Steve, really
Oh,
quick.
I just wanted to mention one more guy at receiver. It's
Yeah,
Cavante Turpin with CeeDee
there you
Lamb
go.
out a month. I mean, Dak's gonna have to sling the ball,
Yeah,
and Turpin's got speed, man. This guy wasn't he like an MVP of the freaking Arena League or whatever he was. So I mean, this is like kind of like another Shaheed type. Like he could definitely make plays. So I feel like he's a cheap ad you could go for. That's kind of a guy I'm going to be adding on some rosters because the Cowboys defense is the worst in the league. So right now, we're one of the worst easily. They look
yeah,
terrible. They're getting shredded. 400 yards against Russ. Caleb torched them, last week. So they're going to be playing in a lot of shootouts. So Dak's going to be slinging, and he's better than Jalen Tolbert. And Pickens, obviously Pickens is there, but it's going to be Turpin as the second guy, I think.
bro. They made Russell Wilson look like Drew Brees.
Exactly. So,
Diabolical. Diabolical. All right, before we get into questions, my boy Joe Carlton, Ernie, you fucking bum. My man, love you, Joey.
I think he's
All right.
mad. I think he's mad you missed out on his show like a week and a half ago, whatever he
Yo,
said.
he's still mad at me. Yeah, yeah. I knew he was mad at me, bro. Bro, I fell asleep. Believe it or not, you would
Of
believe that.
course, you always fall
Yeah,
asleep.
he definitely, dude. He definitely didn't
You're a
believe
hard
me,
worker. You're
Joe.
a hard
I
worker.
promise you, I fell asleep, man. All
I'm gonna
right,
I'm gonna I'm gonna buy you an espresso machine and ship you some
bro.
espressos.
Please,
So you could
Please.
just let me know when your birthday is. I'll hook you up.
All right, hell yeah, man. All right, first question from SWL Bo. Gino or Kyler? Easy for me. This one's easy for. I'm going Gino. I want nothing to do with Kyler.
Uh,
I'll take Gino right now.
yeah, Seahawks D, they're legit. So who the Raiders got this week?
Let's see.
Bears. Yeah, definitely Gino. 100%.
What is it?
Four,
Kyler's
four,
QB 15 right now.
48 total in the Raiders, Bears, and 43 total in the Seahawks. Cardinals. Seahawks D is tough. Yeah, I'm going with Gino there.
Yeah, man. And Gino had one bad game. He's QB. I think they're pretty close right now. But yeah, Chicago, like yeah, give me Gino right now, just because I know that's the team that's most likely going to be throwing, and that Chicago is a good enough game where it's like Chicago should win, right? But they're like I could actually see that being a high scoring game because I don't think either
Yeah.
team is that good. So Gino for me. All right, let's see. Okay, here we go. Jared Fortin, Kyler or Stafford? You know.
Stafford.
Before I agree. I just because I don't want to drag Kyler if I don't have to.
49 and a half total in that game.
Wow. And he's playing Indianapolis this week. You know that game's gonna be a war. That game's gonna be a
Yeah.
shootout. So I would, give me Stafford. You know, what's the over-under on the Rams Colts game? 50?
49 and a half. Yeah.
Wow. Actually,
Yeah.
dude, maybe I should start doing lines. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was good.
That was
Well, that's what you should do. Make your own line and compare it to the real line, and then you know when to bet it or not. Sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I like that. I think that's a really fair line, though. 49 and a half.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
I think I'm going to take the under in that game, but it could definitely go over.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. All right. So Trey, Tree Hugging Hunter. Jaden Daniels is my number one, and Purdy was my number two. Drop Purdy this week for Williams. Stick with Williams or pick Purdy back up. That's a good question. So I think he's talking about Caleb.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you buy into the Caleb? You know,
Well,
man, I think
the schedule is not bad for Caleb. He gets the Raiders, Commanders, the Saints, then the Ravens, Bengals, Giants, Vikings, Steelers. I still think I prefer Purdy. But the problem with Purdy is like he's always hurt. It's like he's always got something going on. So it's like Caleb. I mean, I'm not the biggest Caleb guy, but I mean their defense is not that good. He's still producing for fantasy. He looks quicker and faster this year. He's escaping pressure, and he's been pretty good for fantasy, even though he's still missing a lot of throws. So I mean, and he's tough too. Like I've seen him get hit, he gets back up. And Purdy's hasn't proven durable. So I don't know. It's close. I mean, Purdy's in that system, and they're going to get Kittle back at some point. Ayuk. So maybe long term, Purdy's the better answer, especially around playoff time. But yeah, I don't know. That's a close one. I think I slightly give Purdy the nod there.
I literally like not to be corny. I think your answer is perfect because I feel the same way about Caleb. I feel the same way about Purdy. I like Purdy better, but you look at Caleb's schedule. He's gonna have some good games next 3 games.
Yeah,
but I think I still want Purdy, man. I trust Purdy more. I trust Shanahan more. Purdy's gonna be back sooner than later. Oh, man, that's like so close, man, because it's like Caleb really could go on a run. But I think I'm gonna go with Steve, man. I'm gonna go with the better player right now. I'm gonna take Brock. And let's see, Brock. Let's see, is ETA expected to continue practicing? Yeah, Brock's already practicing, and let's look at the Niners schedule. They got Jacksonville, Rams, Tampa Bay, Atlanta. That's 4 shootouts. So he's actually got a pretty good schedule too. So yeah, give me Purdy there. Tough one. That's really close. All right. Ice cold ace. Should I drop Dak for Sam Darnold or Matt Stafford?
I would still stick with Dak. I mean, I wasn't really high on Dak this year because like he's getting older, but the defense is so bad. I mean, he's going to have to pass a lot. I mean, it sucks now without CeeDee Lamb. That changes things, but I don't know. I still think I give him this slight nod above Darnold.
It's tough because I actually wasn't that guy. Because I think again, good offense, terrible defense. Anthony kind of called them the Bengals of the NFC, and I agree with that. I don't know, man. Like something. So Packers, Jets, Carolina, Washington. Let me just see something really quick.
Dude, they're gonna be like in come from behind mode almost every game. The Packers.
Exactly. No, I'm a big game script guy, so I get it. Let me just see. Darnold's got Arizona. Man, give me Sam Darnold. I'm gonna
I
be
don't hate it.
contrary.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I mean, I'm fine with it. Really, I don't really hate it.
I just think he is underrated still, and I like Arizona, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and then even after that, first three games after the bye, Washington, Arizona, Rams. So, like, Sam's going to be busy for the next, 7 weeks. And even before the bye, they got Houston. Houston looks terrible right now. Better defense though, so who knows how that game will go. But yeah, give me the better quarterback with the better team and better offense right now. I'm gonna go with Sam Darnold. All right, next question. Let's see.
Trent Phil.
I was gonna say I don't know if he's trolling. Drop
Yeah.
Browning for Dart.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely, definitely. I would.
Browning, forget Dar has way more upside. I think you got to just take the shot there. So Browning obviously has Higgins and Chase. I know he'll have some good games, but I think you just got to go for Dart.
Yeah, I mean, give me the upside with Dart here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's got Andrew Thomas back. They got Wandell, and Malik. I'll take my chances with Dart there. All right, so Joris VL Justin Field was dropped in my league. Half PPR, 6 points TD. My QBs are May and Prescott. Should I pick him up and drop Prescott? How much FAB should I spend? Me, honestly, I know this is your boy, Steve. I would hang on to your FAB, Joris. I love May. I think that's
No.
actually a really good quarterback tandem to have and play matchups because I agree with Steve was saying about Dak before. Like, dude, bad defense. They're going to be chucking. It's going to be awesome game script for fantasy and him producing fantasy friendly numbers. So I would actually sit put, man. I don't trust the Jets. I don't know if I completely trust Justin Fields right now. Um, Drake May and Dak Prescott, I do. So give me those two
Yeah.
guys.
I mean, yeah, it's good that you have May. I would go for Fields myself. I don't think you have to spend much to get him. I think most people aren't really thinking about him. He may not even play this week. I don't know if he's going to clear concussion protocol, but I think Fields has more upside. The one thing you get, worried about Fields is, they have Garrett Wilson and then they have Tyler Johnson, Alan Lazard, and Jeremy Rucker. I know Mason Taylor played most of the snaps, so hopefully Mason Taylor steps up. And then Fields is going to have to run a lot. So like he could get hurt again. So yeah, if you want to stick with Dak, I'm fine with that. Me personally, I'd go after Fields. I feel like more upside, but you could stay put and be fine too.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely. All right, let's go to Adrian Peterson. Brees Hall versus Miami, Hampton versus New York Giants, Scatabo versus Chargers, Dobbins versus Cincinnati, Devontae Smith versus Tampa. Wow, this is some really good players and matchups. Start to flex. All right, man. So knee jerk reaction, even though Dobbins versus Cincinnati sounds sneaky and awesome. I think if I had to rank them, like Amari and Hampton is a must for me versus the Giants. That's like, I actually think that's my number one play. And then number two for me is I'm going to go either Brees Hall here, just because I think the Jets are going to beat up on Miami. I think Miami's terrible and he could have a big game. But I think I'm going to go Devontae Smith. As much as I want to go Brees Hall, I like Devontae Smith versus Tampa. I think Tampa's hot right now. I love Baker Mayfield. I think he's one of the grittiest quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a leader. They're going to play a tough game. I think that game is set up to be, another war kind of like last night. I don't know if it will be as high scoring, But I think this is going to be a Devontae Smith game. I think Jalen Hurts, we make fun of him because it's like we all know Jalen's a good quarterback. We're not saying he's not a good quarterback. Everybody's just saying his supporting cast is so elite that it's carried him a little bit. I think both are true, right? But I think Jalen is a player that plays with a chip on his shoulder. I think he hears what people are saying. And, he knows people have been like, Chris Jones said, you didn't even throw 100 yards and you beat us. I think Tampa Bay is a get right spot. I think, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to put up points, and Tampa Bay secondary is terrible. And I love Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith, talent wise, is one of the better receivers in the NFL. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
with Amari and Hampton versus the Giants. They're going to beat up on them. And even if they don't, he's still going to get a huge workload with Najee gone. And then give me Devontae Smith versus Tampa, but Brees Hall is a close for me, really close.
Yeah, I think Brees Hall. I mean, they're all good, but I think Brees Hall or Hampton or Dobbins, two of those three is fine. Let's get to Jared's question. He did drop us a super chat. If you see it in the star there on the right.
Uh, Let me see. I don't actually. Can you read it?
Yeah, it's need RB depth.
Oh, I got it. Let me
Yeah,
pull it up. Cool. Need RB depth PPR. Sanders, Rod, Singletary, Corum, Gordon, J Hill. I mean, for me, pretty easy.
Corum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going Blake Corum, brother. If you wanted to try to be cerebral and get cute, Chris
yeah,
Rodriguez just based
Corum.
off of the carries, but I
Corum.
think it's easy decision here, man. You got to go with Blake. Right now, he kind of looks like the Robin to Kyron's Batman, right?
Yeah,
And his role could grow. Blake Corum's great. We all watched him in college, man. Like we watched him, he was the main cog, if you will, in Michigan's offense, man. And this is a big, durable running back. McVay is smart. Les Snead is smart. They had a plan. It was kind of naive of us to give up on a player after 1 year, a third round running back. And yeah, man, this looks like a promising player. And he's one that I would definitely take here because if his role grows, or kind of like what Steve was saying before, it's my whole same thought process with Jordan Mason. If Kyron Williams gets hurt, who hasn't been the healthiest running back, right, and he's not the biggest guy, bro, Corum probably won you your league. Like that would
yeah.
be crazy
No,
if you could
he
just
it's
flex him every week.
that's the Jared got definitely go Corum.
Yes.
100%. Ernie, I got to get out of here, but you want to take one more before we leave, or you could keep going. I got to leave though.
Yeah, you could pop out. I just don't want to leave anybody hanging. I'll just try to go through them as
I'll just say for TS asked, do you trust Justin Fields over Murray this week if he plays? I'll say yes, 100%. Against Miami, yes, 100%.
All right.
All right, I'm out. Thanks,
All right,
everyone. We'll
Steve.
do this. We'll do this next week. Thanks everybody for
Yes,
coming
next
in.
Tuesday, everybody.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, share to the show, share the show, and hit that notification button. We'll be back for more.
All right.
All right, brother.
Steve, we'll catch you later, buddy. Let me get to Bob's question here. Bob, Henry or Ertz PPR? Dude, for me right now, you gotta roll with Hunter Henry. I like Zach Ertz. Me and Willie Bob were kind of talking him up the other night. Felt like he was a good start for the Packers game, but right now, dude, the way McDaniels has been using Hunter Henry and the way Drake may trust him, you got to go with Hunter Henry. So let's see, Patrick. Trade Mason plus Ridley for Ladd plus DK. Lost CD and need a wide receiver two behind Tet. RBs are Chase Brown, Javante, Mason, Benson, Tootin. I'd actually sit put, man. I love me some Jordan Mason. Calvin Ridley, I don't know if I'm ready to give up on. I mean, I still think like, there's not a lot of receivers there outside of a leak. He's having drop issues, which is kind of strange at this point in his career. But we know what the Titans are, man. They're going to be, playing from behind most of their games. So it's good game script for him. But I love Jordan Mason, man. Like Jordan Mason with, in O'Connell's offense, he's a workhorse running back, man. He's pretty much an RB1 right now. And Ladd, as you can see, like Quinn Johnson, the breakout is real. And Keenan Allen's back, as old as he is, like, that he plays out of the slot too. So he's actually going to eat into Ladd's workload. I think, yeah, like even DK's good. I like DK, but you know, first 3 weeks, I feel like is a good sample size of what we think we're gonna see from him. So I'm gonna go with I think stay put, man. Keep Mason and Ridley and hope that Ridley can start to put it together. All right, Latrell. Let's get to yours. Full PPR. Do I start Lad versus Giants or Cortland versus the Bengals? I know the Bengals sound like the best matchup, but I'm thinking game script wise, the Broncos will be up so much they won't need to throw. Yeah, dude, that's a really good point. But I can make the same argument as again, I've been a Giants fan for a very long time. I think the Chargers are going to beat up on them pretty good. They're kind of throwing, my boy Jackson Dart into a tough situation. We do have Andrew Thomas, so that is a X factor and could make this a ball game, or at least a point where the Chargers don't need to take their foot off the gas, right? But give me Cortland. I think that even though they probably will beat up on them, I do agree with that. Kind of reminds me of that, Atlanta game last year with Denver. It's 38-6, and Sean Payton has no problem running up the scoreboard, man. And I think Cortland, he kind of wants to keep the momentum going. So give me Cortland there. But I see your vision, man, and I get it. I just the way the Chargers are using Lad right now, and the way that Herbert is going to Quentin Johnston. Um, I think it's the same thing, man. Two teams that, Lad and Cortland are on the better teams. They're probably going to beat those teams up, but Cortland is the undisputed one, right? So let's go with Cortland there. Let's see. Next question. All right. Jared, we answered yours. Charles, let's get to yours, man. 14 team, half point PPR. How much FAAB should I put on Torrey Horton if I'm dropping Kayshon Boutte? Or do I still ride it with Booty for another week? It's tough, man. I was really buying the Kayshon Boutte breakout, man, but Drake's just not throwing him the ball, and I think maybe this is what he is. You're going to see some spike weeks and then kind of back to earth. Um, you know, Torrey Horton's interesting because he's really just a Cooper Cup injury away from walking into a really big role, which, and I think Seattle's offense is underrated, especially with Kubiak and the improvements they made on the offensive line. I do think Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. Dude, I think Horton is legit. I think he's going to kind of like his talent's going to demand more playing time. We're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I would feel safe to drop him. Now, how much you should spend, again, it depends on, you know, how much, your league has, because every league is different. But, I wouldn't, blow all your funds, but, just whatever you to make sure that you get him, because I do think he's a good little stash. All right. How we feeling about Neighbors with Dart? I got offered Jamar plus Dravion, but I'd give up Neighbors plus Benson. Nah, man, sit put with Neighbors and Benson. That's a fair offer, and I almost want to tell you, if Burrow was coming back sooner, that'd be really tempting because I do think Travion is going to break out soon. I think that's inevitable. I don't think Stevenson is that good, and they drafted a lot of they invested high draft capital into him, and Travion, is one of the best running backs to come out of this draft class. People will see that. But right now, man, like I know Benson's gonna be a bell cow. I'm a Trey Benson stan, so I've been waiting for this. And as much as I hate the Giants right now, and I don't trust them, I do think Dart is an upgrade over Russell Wilson. Andrew Thomas is back, which I think is going to be a big X factor and boost for the offense. So give me Malik Neighbors and Benson because I do think Malik Neighbors will still be good. Again, the Giants are a team that are going to be playing from behind more often than not. So yeah, give me Malik Neighbors and Benson. That's close because if Burrow was coming back sooner, I would really be tempted to take Jamar Chase side. Patrick, what wide receiver should I target to be my wide receiver two while CD out? PPR two wide receiver, two RB. Uh, wow. Okay, so you Allen May, wide receivers Lamb, Tet, Ridley, Coleman, Brown, Javante, Mason, Jones, Benson. Hawkinson Juan. Good receiver to target, man. Um, I think Matt Golden. I do think we could have, if you want to buy low on a player, like you don't want to trade for like a Ricky Pearsall, obviously everybody's already, witnessed in breakout. But if you want to kind of be cerebral, I like Matthew Golden here, man. Jaden Reed breaking his collarbone, I think was bigger than people think because I always thought that Golden kind of fits that slot receiver more role more than the outside role. So I think he'll slide in to that slot receiver role and kind of take over Jaden Reed's role ultimately. And I spent the first round pick on him. I was really high on him out of Texas. I think he's an elite separator, man. And I think he could be Matt Golden's guy and a player that's, snap percentage and usage is going to go up as the year goes on. And the Packers are a really good team, man. So I think Matt Golden could be a sneaky little target for you. Okay. Let's see. TS drop GB for Vikings or Lions this week. GB has bye week 5, and I usually stream D. Yeah, man, I could actually help you out with that. Let's see who's playing who, because I don't have the schedule in front of me. So Green Bay, they're playing Dallas. All right, and they just lost CD. So, and then the Vikings are playing Pittsburgh. I don't think actually either are bad starts. I think the Pittsburgh game is going to be weird in Ireland, but you know, I kind of would almost roll with the Packers right now. I don't know if I trust Dallas. Like they don't have CD Lamb, and I feel like the Packers are, I saw what they did to Washington. I can only imagine what they're going to do to Dallas, right? Especially without CD Lamb. So it's like, what game plan is Dallas going to come up with? Like, how are they going to like? I just don't think they're going to be able to scheme anything. Like, it's their offense is going to be pretty vanilla now. So I would actually roll with Green Bay there. But again, if you feel more comfortable going with Minnesota, I mean, Minnesota and Pittsburgh sounds like it's going to be like a low scoring snooze fest. So that might be the safer option. But yeah, I actually feel comfortable taking Green Bay there. All right, let's see. TS again? Do you trust Justin Fields over Murray this week if he plays? Um, I'm just gonna piggyback off of Steve. Honestly, I don't. I would take Murray, but Steve is saying Justin Fields. That's his boy. But yeah, I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray truther, but I would take him there. Uh, and then Kanoa built. What are the wide receiver? What are the waiver wire wide receivers we adding in order? So I would say priority is Alik Iumanor 1. I would put Trey Tucker 2. Um, Parker Washington 3. Alec Pierce 4. And then your deep stash can be Tony Horton. That would probably be 5, just because Tony's kind of stuck behind Cooper Cup right now. All right. And then Shield. Which DST should I go for? Chargers or Bills? Let me just see. I mean, I knee-jerk reaction. I want to go with Chargers, but let me just see who the Bills are playing real quick. They are playing New Orleans. Ooh, give me I mean, that's just because New Orleans is actually might be the only team worse than the Giants, Buffalo, without a doubt. Now that Dart's in and Andrew Thomas is back, the Giants, like there is, I'm not saying they will, but there is a world where they put up a fight. Um, Bob Hope, thanks. Yeah, no problem, brother. Absolutely. All right. Jay Fresh. Oh, I like this. Scatterbo, Mason, Hampton, Judkins, pick 2 to start. I love all 4 of these players, all great players. For me, it's pretty easy. Give me um, Mason and Hampton. I know they're both going to get monstrous workloads. I know the Pittsburgh game is going to be a gritty game. So as long as Mason scores, he's going to have a very good game. The one thing is, let me just confirm because I love my boy Quinshawn. Let me just see who the Browns are playing. Yeah, Detroit. Okay, no shot. So give me Mason and Hampton there. I think those are 2 smash starts. Scatterbo is I love Scatterbo. I just don't know if I think he would be more of a flex play. But Mason and Hampton, no brainer for me there. Should I trade Benson for London? Yeah. I mean, if they would give you, I mean, I love Trey Benson, and he's going to be a solid RB2 at least for the rest of the year because he's going to be a bell cow. But yeah, I mean, if people are really freaking out about London, I mean, he might be leading the league in targets right now. I would definitely take the Drake London side, and I think that will start to correct itself because let's pull up Drake London's game logs, right? I know he hasn't scored, but 15 4 8. So he's getting a high amount of targets, man. He's got Washington this week. Could be a get right. We would want Jaden Daniels to play because then we know this would be a get right game. But Washington's secondary isn't good. Give me Drake London there. Just traded my JCN AO for Benson and Tracy. Yeah, man, that is easily highway robbery. Wow, you get Benson and Tracy. I mean, even just getting Benson, you don't even need to get Tracy back there. Just getting Benson for that is, you should be kicked out of your league. I hope those people aren't your friends because you just that was bad. But good trade, brother. All right. So Johnny D needs some desperate advice. 1-0 QB as strategy. Love it. I love doing that too. And I'm 0-3 with a bunch of duds. Got Brees, Pollard, Ramondre as my RB2s, while Thomas Jr. in London not getting it done. Yeah, man. So if you're looking for, I don't know if you're asking me for a quarterback play here. If you are, I would go with one of my recommendations is Sam Darnold. I mean, if Daniel Jones is somehow still there, and you're 0-3 and you have number one waiver wire priority, that's a no-brainer, right? Most likely he won't be because I feel like this is the last call week for Danny Dimes. Um, if he is not, I would go with Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's underrated. Seattle's offense is underrated. And you're going to see, again, I think he has Arizona this week. Then it's like Tampa Bay. Like he has a really good stretch of games coming up. Sam Darnold would be a perfect quarterback for a zero QB strategy. Um, oh, okay. Here's the next part of your question. I'm sorry, Johnny D. My only standouts have been Irving, Lamb, McMillan as my RB wide receiver one. Flex, I'm in a 10 team PPR and feel like this team is extremely risky, boom bust material. These guys should be performing, but not. I'm thinking about trading Lamb for some immediate help, but my other teammates have nothing worth interesting. Seems like a ton of injuries out there at the moment. Yeah, man. I mean, if you could find a trade partner that would take Lamb right now while he's hurt and get something more useful, absolutely. Because you're 0-3 and you're gonna want to pivot. You're gonna want to try to do something. I wouldn't completely blow it up. You got some good pieces: Brees, Pollard, Thomas, BTJ, and London. Yeah, man. I would try to get two impact players for Lamb, maybe to a contender that's trying to potentially buy low on him, and just see what your league mates have. Um, Jay Fresh, I answered that one, and we're almost done, guys. JJ Najera, I received Jordan Mason and JSN. I gave away Mike Evans, London, and Josh Jacobs. Is this good? Um, yes and no. So this is probably the right person to ask this question to because I would probably lighten the blow. I couldn't be higher on Jordan Mason and JSN. Those are two of my boys. You ask anybody at face off, like I couldn't be higher on two players. So I think like what kind of makes this trade overkill is like the throwing in of the London. I think he's slightly one. Again, Mike Evans could get hurt and then this trade would be more fair, but I do think London will eventually break out. Josh Jacobs is a solid RB2. So I would say you slightly lost, but not by much because I think Jordan Mason is about to be a solid RB1. I think JSN is the best player in the probably the trade. He's the best wide receiver right now in the trade. Um, but yeah, Mike Evans, he has the injury, history. He's really old. London is underperforming, and Josh Jacobs. So I would say it's not bad because of the players you got in return, like Jordan Mason and JSN, um, is going to help your team win. But just giving Mike Evans was probably just making it a little bit more of a overkill. All right. So 3P1C fail. Superflex with quarterback two. Would you rather have rest of the season Gino or T Law? That's tough, man, because Gino's been playing like pretty good fantasy football. I mean, I'm gonna go with T Law. I'm gonna go with the better quarterback. I'm gonna go with the better offense. Um, Gino is tempting just because the Raiders are gonna be down almost every game, and it's gonna be good game scripts for him. But I do think T Law is. Let's pull up Trevor's schedule, shall we? Hold on. Let's see who Trevor's playing. So Trevor Lawrence. Okay, so two for yeah. Game versus Carolina, Houston isn't pretty. Cincinnati, 271, three touchdowns. Now we got San Francisco, Kansas City, Seattle. Yeah, I think this is actually I would give me Trevor Lawrence here, and here's why. So, you know, San Francisco, Kansas City, Seattle, Ram, those are all good teams. They're going to need to have their foot on the gas the entire game for all four games. I think you're going to see more of the closer to the Cincinnati game productions than you will Carolina and Houston. I think San Francisco, I could see that being a higher scoring game. Same thing with Kansas City, definitely Seattle. Like that's all. They're at San Francisco, right? Warm weather, and then it's Kansas City at home, Seattle at home, Rams at home. So I like Trevor there. I think he's going to have a good stretch of games coming up. I'm not ready to give up on him yet. So give me Trevor over Gino. So Bob Hope, Myers or Ibuka or Sutton. Wow. I think that's really for me. It's come down to Ibuka or Sutton. Tough. Only because I love Ibuka. The thing is that Chris Godwin's coming back. How much that's going to impact him because again they're the same wide receivers. They play the same position. They're both slot receivers. So what my fear is like kind of like we all know Lad McConkey's a stud, right? But Keenan Allen came back and now he's like eating into his workload. So I think that's like especially the year Chris Godwin was having last year. That's very realistic to happen. So I know Cortland Sutton is the undisputed wide receiver one on a good Broncos offense. I think people got scared from the 6 yard performance last week, which was weird, right? But then we had the get right game versus the Chargers this Sunday. So I'm gonna go with Sutton just because I know he's the wide receiver one. Egbuka, what scares me is Godwin's coming back and Mike Evans is still alive and well. So once Godwin comes back, they could be spreading the ball out more. And it's not that Egbuka is he's literally one of my favorite dynasty darlings this year. It's just that, you know, how is he going to produce in fantasy when Chris Godwin comes back? So give me the undisputed, wide receiver one connected to Bo Nix. All right, a real evil gopher. Which side you like more? Jordan Love and Bijan or Lamar and Brees Hall? Oh, bro, give me Jordan Love and Bijan easily. I want the better running back in that deal every time. Like I love Lamar, great player. I'm not in on the Jets. I do think Brees Hall is underrated, but Jordan Love, we know the Packers are a top three team. I think Jordan Love, his numbers haven't been sexy, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have too much of him, but I do like the Packers. Let me see, 15, 20, 12. Yeah, it's not bad. And he's got Dallas this week, man. So he's going to have a very, very good week this week. And you get arguably the best running back in fantasy football. So that one's pretty easy for me. Give me Jordan Love and Bijan there. D dimes or fields this week. Oh, Steve, I hope you're listening because this is the easiest question of the night. Danny Dimes all the way. The breakout's real. My boy is finally in a position where he could flourish. He is protected by a good offensive line. He's got good wide receivers. He has a great coach in Shane Steichen. He gets rid of Brian Dable. So that train wreck. And yeah, man, I think what you're seeing with the Colts is legit. I think they're a legit contender. I love the game this week. I don't know if they're going to get the W. It's a tough week, tough Rams team, especially the way they were beating up on Philly, and then they just kind of, came up flat in the second half, and Philly stole that game back. So they're going to come out with vengeance. Rams don't really seem like a team to me that are going to lose two in a row. But again, Colts look really, really good right now. And we saw what Daniel did to Denver's defense, so I think this game will be a high score. and I won in on that game. So give me Danny Dimes. Have you ever started 0-4 and made a 16 playoffs? I'll do you one better. I started off 0-6, and I've somehow not only made the playoffs, I've won the league. So, dude, it's never too late, man. Just keep compounding talent. Try to, buy low on good players. Try to beat the curve on the waiver wire, right? And, you know, the talent will compound, man, and the lineups will get better, and then hopefully luck starts coming your way. I mean, bro, there's I think there's like most of my leagues I have the most points scored against. Like I don't like, just fantasy's luck, like how could you predict or what are the odds of that happening? So yeah, man, it's actually easier to do than you think. Just don't give up, man, and just keep trying to chip away again a full roster that can compete every week. What's your X handle, my guy? Mine is Fantasy Anani. It's FANTASYANONY. It's Fantasy Football Anonymous. I don't know who stole that Twitter handle. I hate you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I wish that's what it was. I had to cut it short. I even tried Fantasy Anonymous. That was taken too. So I'm Fantasy Anani. Let me post that in the chat for you guys. Anybody following? Yeah, man, I talk ball. Give out some sports picks every now and then. We're working. Me and Pete have been talking about a Discord for that. But hopefully that comes to fruition. You ever have, questions about start sits, trades, same game parlays, feel free to DM me. All right, Patrick, would you trade Benson or Mason for Lad or DK? Oh, I think we already would you trade Benson? Did we answer this? Benson or Mason for Lad or DK? No, I think we already answered that one. Okay, my bad. Would you rather pick? Okay. Cavelli, would you rather pick up who would you rather pick up in a PPR? Olave or Pittman? Pittman, easily, man. Um, I don't like the Saints. I don't trust Spencer Rattler. I low key think the Saints are tanking just because I'm a conspiracy theorist. And, the Saints offensive coordinator is Nussmeier, father of Garrett Nussmeier, one of the best quarterback prospects in this draft. So I do think there's a correlation there. Again, we will see. But yeah, Michael Pittman, man, he's the X receiver for the Colts right now. I again, I'm buying in the Colts. I picked them to win the AFC South. I'm in on the Daniel Jones hype. I've been a I watched the kid play for 6 years. It was never his fault, man. I'm telling you, it was never his fault. Really unfair situation. He didn't look good, but again, it's easy to not look good when you have the 32nd offensive line and 28th receiving core every year. So give me Michael Pittman, man. I think this Colts offense, I think this Colts team is legit, and he's the X receiver. He is the alpha right now. So yeah, Pittman all the way, pretty easy. And then Miriam Kim, I'm 0-3. What are some changes trades should I do? I have make May, Dak, Neighbors, Najigba, Genti, Walker, Ferguson, JMO, Benson, Ridley, Diggs, Goddard, and Spears IR. I wish I could see your waiver wire so I could help you make some suggestions, but that's a really good team. I would sit put if Daniel Jones is still lingering there. I would drop Dak for him. I mean Neighbors and Najigba, that's nasty. Genti and Walker, that's a good running back 1-2, and you got Benson as your third, so you're set at running back. Um, you need a tight end. I definitely would, if Hunter Henry is on your waiver wire, I would feel comfortable dropping Dallas Goddard for him. Just because the history of Mike McDaniel's offense and how tight ends have flourished, I think I don't think it's an anomaly what's happening with Hunter Henry. I think this is legit. I think he's going to be one of the main cogs of the offense moving forward. That offense looks like it, favors tight ends. Um, and I love Drake May. I think Drake May was one of my biggest breakout quarterbacks this year. So I think what you're seeing is legit. And again, the Patriots, I was a little more bullish on them. I think I was wrong there. I had them over 9 wins. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore, but I do think they're going to be a scrappy team. I think they're going to be in games. I think it's going to be good game scripts for them, either way. So give me add Hunter Henry to your team if he's there, and Daniel Jones if he's somehow on the waiver wire. I would also um oh, and this guy should definitely be there. If Arondi Gadsden is there, I would definitely add him. If you like none of these guys are here that I'm talking about, Gadsden should definitely be there. If somebody in your league has Gadsden, give them a high five because they won at fantasy football. Gadsden, I think, is going to be the guy that takes over the starting tight end role for the Chargers. I think they have a lot of good blocking tight ends. I think they were kind of, looking for that receiving threat. That's why they were trying really hard to sign Evan Engram, who ultimately the Broncos stole from them. I think Gadsden fits that same role. I think that's kind of gives you an indicator of what this offense was looking for. And the way Harbaugh has talked about Gadsden, he has high hopes for him. Like, they traded up with him. It was with intent. There's a plan for this kid. And I don't know if he was two healthy scratches the first 2 weeks, but this past week, me and Steve talked about it earlier in the show. You know, he got 26% of the snaps. And, this was a very crucial, hard fought game versus the Broncos, who a lot of people are very high on. And Gadsden had 7 targets, I think 5 catches for 48 yards, man. So, we could be witnessing a very freakish fifth round tight end rookie breakout. Again, I thought this was one of the best tight end draft classes I've ever seen in my life. Might be the best. I mean, Tyler Warren, I've said it, with Steve and other people on Face Off, man, he's one of the best college football tight ends I've ever seen. Right up there with Brock Bowers. Um, and I think there was a lot of good tight ends this draft. And I think what happens is when that happens is a lot of good players fall. And I think Gadsden was one of them. I think that's why you saw the Chargers trade back up in round 5 to get him, right? A team that needs a receiving tight end threat. So again, we could be a little too bullish and maybe this was just an anomaly. But again, it's the kid's first game, week 3. He played 26% of the snaps, 7 targets, 5 catches, 48 yards. I am buying because if he does become the starting fan, let's say he gets 50% of the snaps, and he has another 50 yards and a touchdown, you ain't getting him, or people are going to start to notice. So you want to kind of, beat the curve here and get him on your bench. So that would be the perfect ad for you, Miriam. So let me see. A real evil Gover, thank you. I feel less evil. No worries, man. All right, Tony Ramirez. Is it time to bench Chase Brown in favor of Travion Henderson? Thanks. It actually might be, as crazy as that is, just because this Bengals offense, man, without Joe Burrow, it's kind of like you look at Devin A. Chain last year, right? Devin A. Chain without Tua, I think was averaging like something absurd, like 7 fantasy points, and then with Tua, it was like 21. And I'm afraid like that's what's going to kind of happen to the Bengals offense here, Like, yeah, back-to-back weeks, 8.6 points, and now they're playing a Denver team, like one of the best defenses in the NFL. Listen, the reason why I lean Travion is because I think Travion Henderson was easily a top 3 running back from this past draft class. I think he's the best pass protector, right? I think you're drafting a kid this high, they have plans to use him. And I think what these coaches do is they try to lean on their veterans like a little bit harder than they should. Just, because he's a rookie, I don't trust him. Right. But what happens is like what happened this Sunday with Stevenson. Like we all know Stevenson has fumbling problems. We all know he's not that good of a he's solid, but he's not that good of a running back, right? And he fumbles, and now I think Vrabel's going to start to lean on Travion Henderson more. So I think the Travion breakout, we were all expecting this to be from right out the gate. Take advantage, man. Reach out to your league mates. Be like, hey, man, is Travion available? Or you don't even have to lead with that. Just be like, hey, man, you looking to trade? Who is available? And let them say Travion, right? And then make a deal so they don't kind of, realize what you're thinking. Like, oh, wow, he's buying low because he could break out this week. Exactly what we're doing, right? And, they got Carolina this week. That would be there's not a better week than for Travion. I mean, his snap percentage kind of went up. Yeah, of course, the game that his Stevenson fumbles, his snaps go up 10%, up to 46. So I think this could be the week we see the potential Travion Henderson breakout, or at least where we see it become way more of an even 50-50 split, or he even gets more of the snaps. And yeah, man, buy low on the player that everybody was, drooling over before week one, because that's fantasy football, right? People don't see fantasy points and they're out on players. Sometimes these things take time. Sometimes good coaches do stupid things, and that's life. And I think that's kind of what the Patriots were doing with Stevenson. I think Henderson taking over is inevitable. I think it's going to happen sooner than later. So, you know what? Yeah, I actually, if you're a gambling man and you want to shoot for the upside, give me Travion Henderson over Chase Brown this week versus Denver. Yeah, Denver, their linebackers are banged up. I don't think Greenlaw is playing. But I think their offense is just so one dimensional with Browning. So yeah, man, I think they're gonna get beat up. And give me Travion Henderson versus Carolina. Uh, Kim start May, NGB, Walker, JMO, Benson. Not bad advice, Bob. All right, Justin. Yo, how much FAAB out of 100 should I drop for Trey Benson? My league, oh my God, he's there. Dude, yes. I mean, if you, I personally, I would almost drop all of it just because I think he is the definition of a league winner, right? Like, it's almost like you're picking up James Conner off your waiver wire. That's how I kind of look at Trey Benson. How much money would you drop for a high end RB2? And yeah, dude, I mean, I'm a big Trey Benson fan. He was awesome at Florida State, awesome size, runs a 4.3, kind of a freak of nature. And now he's getting that bell cow workload, and it's year two, which I love even more because there's trust, right? Sometimes with the rookies, they're reluctant. Like you see with all these guys, Caleb Johnson's getting benched, Travion Henderson kind of not getting the workload we saw. But year two, like look at Blake Corum, right? These coaches now they trust them. They know these guys can pass protect. They know the system. They know the plays, right? And now dream scenario, James Connors goes down, right? Awesome player. We all love James Conner. We've been playing fantasy football for years. Absolute dog, man. You hate to see that. And but now Trey Benson, next man up mentality, dude. And I love Trey Benson. So, dude, if it's like if you think you could miss out on him if you don't spend all your FAB, I would do it. I would. I'm at least now, if it's a league where people are more conservative and you don't have people that are going to do that, like pull something like that, then I would half, like 50, and maybe drop like a little bit more just in case anybody's thinking the same way you are. But that is a player, in my opinion, that is almost worth all of it, because I don't know how deep your league is. Let's see, you said 2 RB, 3 wide receiver, 3 flex. I don't know how many man, but yeah, man, if that's a deep league and he's there for whatever reason, dude, that drop almost all of it. But it's your call. Just you got to gauge it off of if you have people that will spend a lot of money, do what you got to do to get them. If you have people that are more reserved, they're thinking more like, oh, I'm gonna, give 33% of my FAB, then do the 50, get them on your team and win your league. All right. We starting Travis Hunter or Io? Here's okay. So this is crazy. Give me a leak. I'm going with Io Manor. Here's why. Crazy fact that me and Steve figured out on this show is that Parker Washington outsnapped Travis Hunter. Parker Washington was at about 75% of the snaps. Travis Hunter was at 20. So a leak is the starting wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. And right now, he looks like the wide receiver of the one because Calvin Ridley, for whatever reason, can't catch. He could do 1,000 yards with Will Levis, but now he can't catch for Cam Ward. Go figure, right? But I know either way, Leak is the starting wide receiver two for the Titans, connected to a Cam Ward, and they're playing Houston this week. I like Leak here because now Stingley's going to be on Ridley, right? Travis Hunter, I forgot who they were playing. We were just talking about it. Let me pull him up. Travis Hunter, San Francisco. And I'm sorry, I lied about Travis Hunter's snap percentage. He didn't 20, it was 53%. I lied. But Parker Washington still did outsnap him. It was at 75%. Here's the thing, I don't know if I trust Travis Hunter yet. He hasn't broken 35 yards, 33, 22, 21, right? I know Iowa Manor is going to get the volume. And I know they're going to be a team that's going to be an awesome game script. Like this smells like Houston's first win. But again, it's a divisional matchup, so anything could happen. But this smells like Houston's going to finally get right. And I think the Titans, good game flow for them. They'll be from behind, and Iowa Manor 7, 6, 5. That's a good target share. He's playing 75% of the snaps every game. He's got 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, four catches the last 2 weeks, and 56 and 38 yards. So right now, I'm going with Iowa Manor, and I think his role is going to grow. I think Cam's going to trust him more. And there's an actual world where this is the wide receiver one for the Titans. If Calvin Ridley doesn't get it together, if you're Cam Ward, you're going to still keep throwing him the ball if he keeps dropping it. I don't know, man, but Cam Ward's got the right mentality. He picks up Calvin Ridley all the time. But yeah, man, Alik right now, he looks like the more promising player and somebody that I would want to start and feel more comfortable starting over Travis Hunter until I at least see that explosion game. Like show me the scheme you have for Travis Hunter. Show me that he's going to be the slot demon that everybody thought he was going to be. Because right now, Parker Washington's outsnapping him. You know, Parker Washington last week had 11 targets, right? Travis Hunter had, give me 1 second, guys. Travis Hunter had 2 targets last week. So, that's where I'm at with that. So I would definitely go with Iowa Manor. All right. Timon Chalice. Would you drop Pacheco or Hunt? I feel like it needs to be Pacheco at this point. Yeah, man, I would. I mean, you just wish they drafted a running back. It was such a good draft class to just take one, like, I don't know, like Kansas City can't take Scatabo at the end of round 3. Beats me. But at this point, man, I mean, whoever is going to be the primary starting running back and get the goal line carries and touches, that's the running back you want. And it's like, I guess that's Kareem Hunt, man. I really do. I mean, Pacheco's PFF grade is terrible right now. I believe he was rated last. But, I will say this. He averaged 5 yards per carry in that Chargers game. And Andy has a tendency to do this. It's annoying because as a better, it's annoying. Like if he's like in a game where they're not in control or they're down, he just abandons the run. But he was averaging 5 yards per carry versus the Chargers. Then he kind of got neutralized by the Eagles. And then the Giants, 10 carries, 45 yards. So 4.5 yards per carry. Honestly, man, I'm going to change my answer. I would actually keep Pacheco just because of the upside. I know what Kareem Hunt is, man. He's old. He's just kind of like that running back you use out of desperation if, you have nobody else. Pacheco, 2 out of 3 games was averaging over 4.5 yards per carry. We just saw what the running backs from the Lions did to Baltimore, and that's who Kansas City got. They got them at home this week. You imagine that's going to be a good game too. I'd hang on to Pacheco this week. Give Pacheco one more week. I would drop Kareem Hunt because honestly, he's probably a player, dude. Even if he scores this week, he could probably pick back up, right? But if you drop Pacheco and he has 14 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown, it's over. You ain't getting him. So give me Pacheco. All right. Would you prioritize Burden or Horton in deep league? Give me Burden. Only because it's like I don't know how annoying Cooper Kupp is going to be. Cooper Cup's still alive and well, and he's kind of like what's stopping Horton from really, being thrusted into a big role. And if that were the case, I would go Horton here. But I'm gonna go with Burden just because I know, and I'm pretty sure DJ Moore runs a fair amount of his snaps out of the slot. but I like Luther Burden here only because I think this could be a player. Again, he had a really big week because of that flea flicker play. So I'm more focused on like his role growing in the offense, right? And if he could finally take over that slot role, and Ben Johnson kind of has DJ and Rome on the outside, I'm liking me some Luther Burden because now he's the starting slot receiver. So PPR leagues, that's awesome, especially as a depth piece, right? With that upside for his role to grow and develop because they did take him pretty high. Um, but if he does ultimately develop and win that slot receiver role, the Bears are going to be a team that it's going to be a good game script for them. I think they we know what the Bears are, right? I think they'll be a scrappy team, probably around 500, and there's going to be a lot of games where it's going to be back and forth, or they're going to be down and they're going to be chucking. So I like Luther Burden there. Give me Luther Burden. All right, Joker 004. Should I trade Bucky for Javonte Williams and McMillan? Honestly, as insane as it is, hold on, let me just check something real quick. Let me see what Bucky's been doing. Because I know he's been, because it might be too early to bail on Bucky. I mean, yeah, man, like Bucky's getting crazy volume. Crazy volume. Now let me see McMillan. McMillan, I know, has been tearing it up. 16. It really, dude, it comes down to what do your receivers look like? You know? I mean, Javonte Williams is RB7 right now. He's getting good work. Jets, Carolina, Washington, Denver. That's close, man. That really is because I think it's kind of premature to give up on Bucky. But what makes it interesting here is Javante looks like he's at least a solid RB2 for the rest of the year, just off of volume alone. Just we hope, Dallas isn't too bad. Letting Russell Wilson look like he's Drew Brees and the Giants actually look like a competent team, and then to get blown out by Caleb Williams at home, that's kind of diabolical. So, um, the one thing that scares me here is I could see Dallas being really bad, and that would kind of kill Javante's value, right? Because now the offense might be more one dimensional without CD Lamb. But McMillan looks legit. McMillan looks like an awesome, awesome wide receiver. Carolina's another team where it's like they're not going to win many games, so they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. It's tough, man. I've Bucky's RB10. If you need the wide receiver, I would go with actually Tet and Javante. I would. That's tough though. That's really hard because it's like Bucky's getting awesome volume. Like, last 2 weeks, 4 catches, 33 yards, 6 catches, 50 yards, 25 carries, 17 carries. It's just tough, man, because if Javante is a solid RB2 for the rest of the year and Tet is playing the way he does, you're getting better value on the other side, even though Bucky is probably a lower end RB1. Close. Close. That's kind of scary to give up on Bucky there. So again, it really depends the makeup of your team. If you need the wide receiver, I would consider it. Otherwise, I mean, again, Bucky's playing Philly this week. So it might be because I think that game should be high scoring, right? Javante is playing Green Bay. I don't like that. Then Nick Millen is playing New England. That's close, man. But I think you know what? Give me Bucky, just because I don't know if I. That's such a good. That's actually the toughest question of the night, man. I really it really comes down to the rest. I want to see the rest of your team before I can give you an answer on that one. So you could DM me, dude. My ad handle is at Fantasy Anani, and I'll help you walk you through that because that's tough. I got to see the rest of your team. All right, let me see. Yes, Bob. If Benson is somehow there, that's easy. Like no question. I actually didn't even put him on this waiver wire list. And you know what? Just for people that are still listening, wondering if Trey Benson is for whatever reason on your waiver wire, that is your number one claim. That is the player you want to leave with this week. That is going to be at least a solid, like his floor is solid RB2. I think the volume, the workload. I mean, dude, I think he's a clone of James Conner. I just think he's a little faster, right? I'm a big James Conner fan. This is like an awesome replacement for James Conner. This is Trey Benson, in my opinion, is the definition of a league winner. So go and get him if he's there. Spend whatever FAAB you have to. Again, you know your league mates better than I do. If you're in a league where people are more reserved with their FAAB, then use it more cerebral. Like I would say, like, out of $100, right, just for easy math, do 50. Do 53 or a little bit more, just because now you still have money to put in small claims and pick up players you want for the rest of the year, but you got the league winner. Right now, if there's league where you got friends, and sometimes it's me, you ain't afraid to you know blow your entire load just to get that league, because there ain't that many players with this upside, and they're probably not going to come for the rest of the year. Do it, man. Do not miss out on him. Like, I would, if I had a friend that I know that was crazy enough to do all his entire budget for him, I would do it, man. I think Trey Benson's that good. I don't think the Cardinals I don't think they're good. I don't think they're terrible. And I think they're going to be a functional offense, and he's going to produce, like, it's almost like picking up James Conner. How much would you pay, right, if a healthy James Conner is on your waiver wire? No brainer, right? So number one priority, all your FAAB, just make sure if Trey Benson is there, you want to wake up, and if you see him on your bench, good job. You probably won your fantasy football leagues. All right. Let me see. Peyton. 12-man where RB are hard to come by. Would getting someone like Henderson and giving Waddle for him. I would do that. I would do that. And I would actually take on the risk of potentially losing that trade, because I love Jalen Waddle. I thought this was potentially a good bounce back, maybe not a breakout, but like a good spike year for him, right? I don't know if I trust Tua in the Dolphins. And I know what Waddle's most likely going to give me this year, right? Probably solid RB2. I mean, solid wide receiver two. Give me Travion Henderson, man. Like, we were all just like, drooling over this kid 3 weeks ago, saying he's going to be the next Kamara, right? Maybe these things just take time. Maybe Vrabel needed to see Stevenson fumble the football. And now you have a coach that, wants to go with the running back he basically took in the first round, the one that's elite in pass protection, can do it all, can catch the ball, can run the ball. So he's a top 3 running back in the draft. Sean Payton wanted to try to trade back up to get him. That's one of the better offensive minds in the NFL. So sometimes in fantasy, the good thing is to do the old switcheroo trade where right now, face value, you're losing that trade. People will probably say, oh my God, you gave up Jalen Waddle. I get that, right? But if I'm right and Travion Henderson gets majority of the snaps this week versus Carolina, and he has 5 catches, and he has, 15 carries, and he has, 80 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown, did you lose that trade? No, now you won the trade, right? So that's why I would do that trade. I think that's really good thinking, Peyton. That's kind of how you want to play fantasy football sometimes, and you'll get burned doing that. Sometimes, like, dude, there's a world where Waddle could just start going nuts, and Travion is still just trapped in this rookie running back hell, right? That's a real possibility. But if you're where RBs are hard to come by, and you're good at wide receiver, take the gamble, bro. That's how you can win your league sometimes, especially when you need that upside and juice, man. And if you could, you know, beat the curve on a player and buy low on him before he kind of hits his upside or what everybody thought he was going to be, that's how you do it, man. So definitely do that trade. Um, should I trade Jamar and Jordan Mason for Henry and Nico? Wow. Yeah, I would. I love Jordan Mason. Problem is, I don't know when Joe Burrow's coming back. I'm not look, I'm the biggest I actually one of my favorite best ball stacks and strategies this year was when you get, the end of the first round, you go Nico and Derrick Henry, right? I just love it because Derrick Henry is, his floor is a top five running back, and Nico, I think is the same thing. It was kind of like almost like weirdly a buy low because it's like people forgot, like, hey man, before this dude pulled his hamstring, he was fantasy wide receiver too. Um, so yeah, I was nervous at first because Houston's offense didn't look too good, right? CJ Stroud coming out stale a little bit. But finally they kind of got back on the same page last week. Here's the thing. I know what Nico's capable of, and I know it, even though it might not, Houston's offensive line is terrible, horrible right now, actually. I kind of feel bad for Stroud before we start dogging him. But I will say this, I was watching the game the other night because I had Nico's over and I lost. He's wide open right in front of his face. Like CJ's not reading the field really well right now, but last week was encouraging. I'm going Henry and Nico. I feel like somebody for whatever reason panicking about Derrick Henry and his fumble. I would capitalize. I think I might be the conductor of the Jordan Mason fan bus, but this is pretty easy for me. You send that, and if he accepts it, you just pat yourself on the back, man, because I think you're getting, a top five running back and a top five wide receiver, definitely a top 10 wide receiver minimal in the NFL, man. So that I would definitely want to be on that side. All right, Juicy. Would you rather drop Higgins, Addison, or Tootin for Benson? 10-team league. I lack wide receiver. Would you rather drop Higgins, Addison, or Tootin for Benson? Um, that's tough. I actually weirdly I would go with Higgins or Addison only because Addison is coming back. It really comes down to when does Joe Burrow come back because you don't want to give up on Higgins. It's hard to say drop T Higgins because then he'll become a league winner for somebody else if Joe Burrow comes back. So it's like, do you want to stash him and hold him for the playoffs? That might be a play. I weirdly, if this was like non PPR, I think this would be pretty easy with Addison. Let me see if there's like an ETA on Burrow or anything like that. Mid-December. Joe Burrow's coming back around mid-December. Yeah, so you're looking like fantasy playoffs for Higgins. It's just hard to say, yeah, I dropped T Higgins. I don't know if I'm ready to help you do that. Let's check out. I mean, Jordan Addison comes back this week. Can't do it. All right, man. That's actually a tough question, Juicy. I think what we're gonna have to do here, man, is listen, man. If your team's good enough to hang on to T Higgins and hold him for the playoffs, fantasy playoffs, I would do that, and I would also hold Addison. Tootin, as much as I like him, and I think he's a great add in most leagues, just because RB is very thin. He's still behind ETN. They're going to split. It's going to be similar to like last year. Like everybody's got to get out of their head that Tootin is Bucky Irving. I mean, I love Tootin, but I don't think he's Bucky. I do think he's going to be in a similar role. I think that was the vision. I think that's pretty straightforward, especially because Jacksonville wanted a running back really bad. They were thinking about taking RG Harvey at the top of the third round. So they were looking for RB. Because the two that they had, ETN and Bigsby, they didn't draft this new cabinet didn't draft them. So, you know, Bigsby was the odd man out. A lot of people thought he was the guy for a while and all the steam. I remember that. And I was in on that too because ETN didn't look too good last year, but it was because of his injury, right? But now we know that it's going to be a 1-2 punch. Here's the thing. Higgins, Addison, right? JJ will come back. Addison's too talented to give up on, and I can't let you drop T Higgins, even though it almost feels like it because you're going to be without him for a good while. But I'm gonna drop Tootin here, man, because I think Tootin is more of like a flex player, especially in PPR right now. Benson is, high end RB2, almost argument. So tough decision there. Drop Tootin for Benson, man. And yeah, juicy. Yeah. So your question again, I would go with two in there, man. Tough. But Addison's coming back this week. They're playing in Pittsburgh. I mean, they're playing in Ireland. They're playing Pittsburgh. Anything could happen, man. Like, the last thing is you drop him and he has like a 100-yard game or something weird, right? But I don't even think JJ's back. I think it's Wentz. So it could be an ugly game for him, but we'll see. Higgins, man, that's can't drop him and be a league winner for somebody else, man. So got to toot in there. It's tough because I like tooting, but definitely two in there. What's up with? All right, let me see. Shadow. What's up with the hype for Tucker? He had one good game. No, yeah, he was a dude. He was a. People were hyping him up last year. He was a. There was a lot of good reviews about him coming out of camp and third round pick. There was a lot to like. And now it's just kind of like coming to fruition. He had that, big touchdown week one, and then he had a, 40-point game last week. I think that's crazy. Three touchdowns, absolutely exploded. I just think that it's a product of the Raiders aren't that good of a team. They're gonna be throwing the ball a lot, right? And outside of Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, they don't have anybody. And a lot of people thought that was gonna be Dante Thornton, including myself. Maybe we were just a year too early on Trey Tucker, but Geno Smith targeted him 11 times last week. How do you ignore that? You can't. You gotta roll the dice, man. So if Trey Tucker's there, man, you got the extra bench spot. I'll take him easily. See if the trend continues, man. If he becomes the wide receiver two there, or you know, what if they think he could take over Jacoby Myers' slot, and the Raiders don't think they're that good of a team, and they trade Jacoby to a contender for a pick. Now you have, you just kind of hit the jackpot on Trey Tucker. So yeah, just right now, based off of how their team's going to do, and they're going to be from behind, they're going to be throwing the ball. Um, and outside of their two big horses in Bowers and Myers, there's nobody there, man. So yeah, he's worth the gamble. Uh, Joker. I have Saquon as my RB1, but my wide receiver are Pierce and Rome. That's dirty, bro. That's three dirty players. Good job. I wasn't in on Rome just because I didn't. My little brother loved Caleb, but I wasn't the biggest Caleb guy. And, last year scared me, right? It did. But Rome is legit, man. He's a top 10 receiver and probably one of the best wide receiver drafts of all time. And Ricky Pearsall is legit. That's my boy. I loved him coming out of the swamp from Florida. Um, and you got arguably the best, excuse me, you got arguably the best running back in fantasy football, man. Really good job with those three. Trevor Browning, PPR flex, Judkins, Brees, BTJ. Jaguars are playing the Niners. For me, I'm between Brian Thomas and Brees. Actually, fairly easily because my boy Judkins, I think he's playing the Lions this week. That's a tough ask. Uh will this be the get right game for Brian Thomas? Let me see, Brees. That's a tough one. I'm looking at Brees last year versus how he fared versus Miami. You know what, man? Just because I don't know if I trust the Jets, give me Brian Thomas. I think the Niners game that's gonna be a great game. It's an interesting game. Jaguars versus Niners. I think it's in San Francisco. It's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be a high score. I think Brian Thomas, the numbers haven't been pretty, like the fantasy production, but the targets have been there. Let me just pull it up again. I just had his stats up. When I look at his target, like this is what's important to me in fantasy because a lot of times the talent and the situation will correct itself, right? So you can't freak out and get too nervous. But like for example, week one, he had 7 targets but 1 reception, right? That will correct itself. But he got 7, 12, 6. So the targets are still there for Brian Thomas. We're just hoping that again, him and Trevor Lawrence could get on the same page, right? I think that will happen. I think Liam Cohen is a really, really good coach, man. I think he's got a good offensive mind for the game. Um, I think that this will be a game where Brian Thomas will score. I think you'll see similar numbers to last year, man. I mean, at the end of the year, I mean, the last 13 to week 18, he didn't have under 75 yards. And if you were following me on Twitter, you're welcome because that was one of my biggest sleepers, right? I think we're going to see some of these. We'll see one of those weeks from Brian Thomas this week, man. I think you're looking 75 yards and a touchdown. I just don't know how this, Niners game isn't going to be a war. Again, I think people are kind of disrespecting Mac Jones a little bit. I think Mac Jones is a competent streamer, and he's a competent fill-in for for Brock Purdy. So I think this will still be a good game. Wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville won it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Mac Jones and the Niners they grit it out. So give me BTJ there. Liam Gill, should I trade Jamar and Jordan Mason for Henry and Nico? We already dude, yeah, we went to Henry and Nico all day, brother. All right, I got offered AJ Brown and Tootin for Ridley and Scatterbo. What do you think? I would take that right now, bro. If you're getting AJ Brown and Tootin for Ridley and Scat, do that right now. I think AJ Brown, I think that's another one where it's like, I'm a Jalen Hurts hater, but he's good. He's going to start throwing the ball. I think we kind of saw that last week versus the Rams. So give me the buy low on AJ Brown there. He's definitely the better receiver of the two. And I think Scatterbo is kind of like it would be a good sell high. This wouldn't be a good sell. Wouldn't be a bad sell high week. I think he had a great game. I love Scatterbo. I just don't trust the Giants. I don't know if I'm ready to buy into the Giants offense. Tootin is, unless ETN gets hurt, I think his ceiling is just splitting with him, which is still productive. Like we saw, Bucky Irving, Rashad White split last year, right? I think you're going to see something similar. But I want the Tootin and Brown side because I think there's a world where Tootin could actually outproduce Scatterbo, right? Especially if the Giants stall or they could be bad, man. I mean, with Andrew Thomas and Jackson Dart, those are two X factors, right? I think they could be better. I still think they're just a very bad football team with very bad coaches and the worst GM in the NFL. So I think Scatterbo might be more of an awesome dynasty stash. But give me Brown and two in there. Because Ridley, I mean, I love Ridley going into this year, but bro, you're having drop issues now. You have 1,000 yards with Will Levis, and now you have Cam Ward and you're dropping the ball. Come on, man. So give me the AJ Brown side. All right. I have Goddard, Fannin, and Ferguson. Do I drop Goddard and Fannin and pick up Gadsden? No, no, no. Keep Fannin, drop Goddard, and pick up Gadsden. Pretty easy. I want the two young guns there. This is a really good tight end class. Again, there's going to be some rookie tight ends that produce this year, just because it was so deep. So I don't want Goddard right now because, like, dude, like, if people want to trade AJ Brown to Devontae Smith, the last thing I want is the guy that's the last man on the totem pole. Give me Fannin, Browns, team that's going to be throwing, tight end's going to be used a lot. And then give me Gadsden. Give me the upside of Gadsden. If Gadsden, it was a 1 week anomaly, you could always drop him and you could probably get a tight end that's just as good as Goddard next week. I don't think you're missing anything there. I would go with the upside play and the two young guys, Fannin and Gadsden. All right, guys, it looks like we're almost done to I think our last question here. Ed, Judkins or Jordan Mason rest of the season? Mason plays Steelers, Browns bye week, then Eagles, Chargers full PPR. All right. I'm gonna get called nuts for this one. Um, and why I have conviction in it is because I love Judkins. Give me Jordan Mason. I trust Kevin O'Connell more. I've have been a big Jordan Mason truther. I think like his underlying numbers shows that he is an elite running back, and I think we kind of saw that last week. And it's like, guys, we saw this now in San Francisco system, so Shanahan's system, and Kevin O'Connell's system, in an offense that was led by Carson Wentz. I'd imagine JJ McCarthy's going to come back soon. Again, you don't know if that was a soft benching, right? Just to get JJ better. Maybe they thought they put him in too early, right? But who knows if JJ McCarthy's going to be good? But here's what I do know: Kevin O'Connell is an awesome coach. He's one of my favorite coaches, one of the best offensive minds in the game. I trust him. Judkins, as much of a beast as he is, I think he's going to come down to earth this week. I think the Browns are playing the Lions, right? I don't think you're going to see a miracle like you saw this week versus the Packers. I think the Lions, after that big win versus the Ravens, they're going to start rolling and let everybody know that they're back. I don't see it being a good matchup for Judkins. Again, if Judkins goes off this week, man, then he is just bulletproof, and that kid's a dog because when you're on a team like the Browns that are probably going to be down most games, and you got Joe Flacco leading the charge, that's very impressive. So give me Jordan Mason, better team. Um, I would say way better offensive line, right? Better offense. And even when Aaron Jones comes back, I think, the Vikings now could see, their offense is more dynamic and they can do more things with Jordan Mason. He fits that bell cow role better. And I think he will, you know, when Jones comes back, yeah, he'll like spell him and stuff. But I think this is going to be Jordan Mason's job. So you got the better team. Who knows what the Browns are going to look like as the year goes on? Might be a good sell high moment for Judkins, but for me, it's Jordan Mason. But again, I love me some Judkins, so can't go wrong either way if you're on the other side of that argument. Bob, good job. I'll see you next time. Hey, I appreciate that, brother. Me and Steve will try to run this back next Tuesday, probably around the same time, but we'll kind of post something on the Face Off Twitter and let all you guys know. Miriam, thanks, man, for this. Earned a sub. Hey, appreciate that, brother. That's awesome. Um, we really appreciate your guys' support. And thanks, guys, everybody, for listening. I think that's going to wrap up the show. Like I said, me and Steve will try to run this back next week. I'll try to get off a late tweet and just a recap of the guys that I have listed for waiver wire targets. Um, yeah, and we'll see you next time. All right. Just make sure you like, you subscribe. We are the Face Off Network. We'll see you next time. Actually, this Thursday, if you want to, go over me and Willie Bob, maybe Steve will be doing a primetime forecast. We're pretty much before the Thursday night game. We'll go over starts and sits, and then we'll probably go over our favorite SGP. We actually hit this Thursday. We missed it, but the previous Thursday Packers game, our parlay hit. We had the Packers, we had Josh Jacobs over, and we actually faded the reincarnation of Adrian Peterson, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. We took his under, but we hit. So we have a lot of fun. But guys, thanks for joining us. If I missed your question, I am sorry, man. You could DM me or anybody on the Face Off team, and we'll be happy to help you. My at is Fantasy Anani, Anony. Feel free to DM me, man, and I'll be able to, help you as best as I can. All right. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next time.